Football, with such strong skills, even nightclubs can produce football kings. Hey! Look who's back for more adventures. We love having you here to continue this story that keeps us all awake. Important note, all of this is pure fiction, so don't try any techniques you hear here in real life. Your neighbor might call the cops. This amazing novel and all its rights belong to the original author. We're just the ones giving it voice and drama. Are you enjoying the show? Prove it by subscribing to our YouTube channel and leaving that like that motivates us so much. And if you want VIP access to exclusive content, our Patreon is waiting with things you won't find anywhere else. Chapter 076. The fifth round comes. Facing Duisburg away from home, you said. Based on Feng's current state, where will his future be? After a while, assistant coach Bradrick bumped Gerald, who was silent, with his arm and asked. Gerald thought for a while, shook his head and replied, "It's hard to say, but at least he won't belong to the German second league. His ability has conquered you and me, and the rest is up to you. Give it time." Gerald's comment was very pertinent. It can be said that the Paderborn team now led by Gerald has completely accepted Feng, who is very passive and running on the field. The result was relatively optimistic, and he achieved a good result for the team. If this shortcoming of his is put aside, Gerald can be sure that Feng will achieve excellent results in the future, stand on a higher stage, and compete for the highest honor in world football. But in the current situation, he had no way of knowing whether Feng would be reused by those wealthy European clubs. Bradrick nodded and did not choose to continue talking about this topic after a while. Bradrick picked up the whistle in his hand and blew the whistle that ended the training. The players of Paderborn's first team walked from the training ground towards the locker room, talking and laughing. As for Feng, he naturally stood among this group of players who were older than him and became the core of the team. And visibly there are now close relationships and a thriving scene throughout the team. They train together and work towards a common goal. Let's improve ourselves together and fight for Paderborn. Moreover, in addition to training with his teammates, Feng naturally also took advantage of his evening rest to conduct his own special training. Now that he lives in an apartment outside, he has more free time and can arrange special training time reasonably. He no longer has to stay up late for training and affect the team training the next day. Although Feng has almost adapted to the rhythm of the Bundesliga 2, he knows very well that his future will not stay in the Bundesliga 2 forever. He needs to continue to practice hard every day to prepare for entering the Bundesliga in the future. According to Feng's current progress, by the end of this season, his overall rating will probably reach around 80. At that time, even if he entered the Bundesliga, he would be able to make huge waves in it. Sunday, the entire Paderborn team traveled to Duisburg for the fifth round of the Bundesliga 2. Duisburg is also a relegation team this season. A core player in their team was injured in the first round and may not be able to continue playing throughout the second half of the year. Under this circumstance, Duisburg temporarily handed over 1 win, 1 draw and 2 losses, accumulating a total of 4 points and ranking 15th in the league. Paderborn, which has won 2 games in a row, faces Duisburg, which is in a sluggish state. It can be said that it is very promising to win, then take these 3 points and continue to improve your ranking in the league. Feng, who is full of fighting spirit, is also looking forward to his first away start. "I look forward to continuing my hot form, getting goals and assists in the game, improving my ranking on the scorer list, and winning the Bundesliga Golden Boot this season." However, statistics such as scoring goals cannot be forced. Read more novels by visiting our website Night Novels. Even the best striker in the world cannot guarantee to score in every game. Feng can only say that he will do his best to break through Duisburg's net and help Paderborn win. Soon Germany, North Rhine-Westphalia, outside the MSV arena, Duisburg MSV. Duisburg MSV. Fans wearing Duisburg's blue and white striped jerseys had not yet entered the stadium, but gathered outside the stadium, beating drums and shouting the name of the home team loudly. Come cheer for the home team, of course. This is also a showdown for the Paderborn players and fans to let them feel the momentum of the Duisburg fans. Not long after, 5,000 Paderborn fans, wearing Paderborn's black and blue jerseys, appeared outside the MSV arena, Paderborn. Due to Paderborn's 2 consecutive victories recently, many Paderborn fans traveled across mountains and rivers from the distant city of Paderborn to come here, hoping to see Paderborn's success with their own eyes. Victory. The 5,000-strong Paderborn fan group was also particularly spectacular at the MSV arena, and its momentum was somewhat overshadowed by the home team Duisburg. This is the competition between their fans. Soon, when the Paderborn first team bus slowly entered from the stadium entrance, the Paderborn fans shouted in unison for the hero of their team, Feng. Feng, Feng, who was sitting on the bus, heard the fans shouting his name loudly, and his eyes couldn't help but shine a little. Sigh. I don't know when the fans will be able to shout my name like this, Vidra said enviously to the other players in the bus, which caused a lot of boos in the bus. Vidra, perform well, I believe it won't be long. Assistant coach Bradrick, who was sitting close to Vidra, heard these words, turned his head and chuckled back. I don't know who it was, but it was timely to perform a last-ditch attack at this time. That's right, Vidra, you are about to play 200 games for the club, and the fans will chant your name in the Benteler Arena. Ha 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 ha. Plus the atmosphere on the court was very comfortable. And all the Paderborn players were in a good mood at this time. They haven't felt such a huge cheer from the Paderborn fans away from home this season. This is all due to Paderborn's excellent results influenced by this atmosphere. They also felt that they could defeat Duisburg on the road at this time. Feng was really impressed by the atmosphere of Paderborn in the previous life. Paderborn was a team with a very miserable fate in the 14-45 season. It was relegated to the Bundesliga 2, and in the 15-16 season, it was relegated to the Bundesliga 3. In the 16-17 season, if it were not for Munich 1860's financial problems that replaced Paderborn's relegation spot, Paderborn would have completed 3 consecutive years of relegation and fallen into the regional league when the home team's performance was a mess. Paderborn fans did not choose to leave in disappointment, but still supported the team behind their backs. If Feng can do it, he will definitely lead Paderborn to gain a firm foothold in the Bundesliga 2 and break into the Bundesliga. This was his response to the enthusiastic Paderborn fans. Chapter 077. Mavarina, fierce competition. Local time, 1:30 p.m. in the MSV Arena. Players from Paderborn and Duisburg are warming up on the pitch. Fans from both sides were almost in place, and the Paderborn fans in the stands were shouting a Chinese name enthusiastically. Listening to these cheers, Duisburg's head coach Aldrich couldn't help but frown, and asked the assistant coach Ed next to him in confusion, Ed, that boy that the Paderborn fans are calling is the one from the Freiburg youth training, right? As the head coach of Duisburg, he naturally investigated the Paderborn first-team players before the game information and watched the videos of Paderborn's previous games. Paderborn, which had been hard-pressed to win, was suddenly in hot form and won 2 consecutive league games. The reason for all this was actually the player who had been rejected by Duisburg. This made Duisburg head coach Aldrich feel extremely uncomfortable. Ed glanced at Feng, a lone player from Paderborn who was training in the stadium, and felt a little melancholy in his heart. He had a relationship with Feng back in Freiburg, and he easily found him in the team. That's right, Ed nodded, his face a little ugly, but he still defended forcefully. But old man, don't worry too much. A player who has just been loaned from U17 is just a matter of luck in the first 2 games. It's just better. Such a young player needs several seasons of training if he wants to perform stably in the Bundesliga 2. In this game, the players were in good condition, and we also based on their after formulating relevant tactics. Let this kid feel the intensity of the Bundesliga league. Duisburg's coaching staff adjusted today's game after watching Paderborn's previous 2 games starting lineup. They are keenly aware of some deficiencies in Paderborn's defense and will use a 5-4-1 diamond midfield formation in this game. On the defensive line, a large number of manpower was deployed to tightly guard Paderborn's key scoring center, mainly using a defensive counter-attack strategy. I hope so. Hearing Ed say this, Aldrich still had some regrets and worries in his heart, but he didn't say anything to affect the team's morale. After a simple reply, he ignored Ed and turned his attention to the Duisburg players. Soon after the players from both sides finished warming up, they returned to the players' tunnel, waiting for the referee's whistle. Although the Paderborn players were not talking or laughing in the tunnel, it could still be seen from their facial expressions that they were in a more relaxed mood than the Duisburg players. Now please, players from both sides are on the stage. Accompanied by the voice of the commentator, the referee stood at the front of the team and blew the entrance whistle. Feng took a deep breath, turned his attention to the court in front of him, and slowly followed the team's pace towards the MSV Arena. Starting in an away game is still the first time in Feng's career. It made him look forward to the bright stadium outside the dark tunnel. Duisburg MSV. Duisburg MSV. As soon as he reached the exit of the players' tunnel, Feng could hear the excited shouts of Duisburg fans in the stadium. After walking in, you can even hear the curses from some fans with low moral quality among the Duisburg fans. Read more novels by visiting our website Night Novels. You're a joke. Go to hell. What the football field needs is the sound of cheering, not the abuse of these hooligan fans. Although there were many sensible fans on the side to persuade them, This group of people still went their own way and continued to abuse Paderborn players. Feng stood in the middle of the team, listening to the pressure brought by these insults on Paderborn, but he was not greatly affected. On the contrary, the motivation to destroy Duisburg is even stronger. In football matches, the best way to fight back against these fans is to use strong strength to penetrate the opponent's defense and blast the football into their goal to respond to these foul words. This is the way football is. Afterwards, the players from both sides came to the football field, completed some pre-match rituals as usual, and then lined up their formations on the field. In this game, Paderborn took the lead in the first half. Feng stood in the center of the center circle, waiting for the referee's whistle. He looked up at the crowd of fans, his eyes showing determination. In his first away game, the fans in Duisburg successfully aroused his fighting spirit. He wants to finish this game well. Beep, following the referee's whistle. Feng fired the ball from the center circle. At this time, the voice of the commentator also came from the rostrum on the sidelines. Dear viewers at the scene and in front of the TV, welcome to the 5th round of the German Bundesliga 2. Duisburg plays Paderborn at home. The player who just sent the ball in the circle is Paderborn. The rookie Feng, who has scored 3 goals in the last 2 games. After the last game, in front of media friends, he said that he would compete for the Bundesliga Golden Boot this season. However, at that time, he only scored 3 goals and was not yet ranked among the top 10 scorers in the Bundesliga 2. Today at the MSV Arena, can he maintain his hot form and score again? Let's wait and see. As the commentator finished speaking, Paderborn players began to organize an attack facing Duisburg's defensive lineup. Paderborn did not increase the pace very quickly. They frequently passed passes in the midfield, waiting for the right opportunity to attack. As for Feng, he naturally received special care from Duisburg. Duisburg's 2 central defenders had their eyes firmly on Feng from the beginning, always wary of him getting the ball. There is no doubt that this is the result of Duisburg head coach Aldrich's explanation, asking him not to be deceived by Feng's lazy appearance. In this case, players from both sides started a fierce battle in the midfield. Duisburg did not easily retract its formation near the penalty area because of its main defensive counter-attack strategy. On the contrary, every ball must be fought for, and at the beginning it showed some momentum at home. Paderborn did not find a good offensive opportunity for a while. This fierce game still continued on the MAV Arena. Chapter 078. Quick counter-attack. Duisburg scored first. Bang! In the 11th minute of the game, Paderborn relied on the advantage of the number of midfielders to steal the ball from Duisburg's feet and quickly launched a counter-attack. Duisburg's defense, because they did not press very far forward, quickly retreated into their own penalty area. After Vidra caught the ball, he advanced to the opponent's half with a ball. He originally wanted to hand the ball to Feng and let him make a breakthrough later. However, Duisburg's defensive midfielder kept blocking Feng's receiving route, leaving Vidra without a good route for the ball. Here, seeing this, Plikovic on the right immediately raised his hand, wanting to dribble the ball himself and break into the hinterland of Duisburg. Then, Vidra kicked the ball to Plikovic. After catching the ball, Plikovic looked up and observed the situation on the court. Duisburg's diamond-shaped midfield position gave Plikovic a good space to dribble the ball on the wing. He stopped and passed Duisburg's left midfield relatively easily. Guard him! Duisburg's midfielder and captain Yannick immediately shouted towards his own defense line. Hearing the sound, the left back immediately moved towards Plikovic. He blocked Pulisevic's cutting route and pressed all the way, allowing Pulisevic to gradually bring the ball near the sideline. In this position, he doesn't have much room to turn around, let alone shoot. Pulisevic had no choice but to give up dribbling the ball and stop the ball on the spot. Then after shaking the full back, he passed towards the center of the penalty area. The angle of this cross is still very positive, but because they were very upright, Duisburg's 2 tall central defenders immediately ran to the landing point, preparing to grab the point. Feng was also near the landing point of the football, but a central defender from Duisburg kept his arm stuck on Feng's chest, making it impossible for him to jump up and fight for the top in the defense line. Players can often see such small actions. As long as the offensive player is not knocked down or caused some damage, the referee will generally not blow the whistle, and the referee on duty for this game is naturally like this. Duisburg's other central defender lived up to expectations and won the cross, pushing the ball towards the midfield. Duisburg's midfielder also waited here for a long time and successfully controlled the football at his feet. After turning around, he didn't hesitate too much, glanced at the position in front of the court, and then made a long pass directly behind the Paderborn center back. After Duisburg grabbed this cross, he quickly launched a counter-attack on the sidelines of the rostrum. The commentator of this game couldn't help but speed up his speech after seeing this wonderful defensive counterattack. Commentary: hit the ball behind, Duisburg forward Schiedhauer, Kindly grabbed this pass, he did it. He did it, along with the excited voice of the commentator. Duisburg in the audience. The Eastberg fans suddenly stood up from their seats. Duisburg MSV. Duisburg MSV, they shouted heartily, waving their arms, cheering for their home team. In their eyes, this opportunity is a sure thing as long as Duisburg forward Schiedhauer makes no mistakes. His eyes returned to the arena after forward Schiedhauer grabbed a pass from his teammate. He adjusted the direction of the football, took a big step, and headed straight for Paderborn's goal. Seeing this, Paderborn's goalkeeper also moved to the corner of the goal, concentrating on blocking the Duisburg striker's shot. But by the time Duisburg forward Schiedhauer had almost reached the small penalty area. Read more novels by visiting our website Night Novels. He suddenly knocked his foot and passed the ball to the attacking midfielder Captain Yannick, who came in at high speed. After Duisburg captain Yannick received the ball, he pushed the ball lightly. Hey, the ball went in. Duisburg defended its home honor and took the lead in scoring a goal about 10 minutes into the game. Moreover, it was a very exciting quick counterattack. Ah, Yannick! Yannick! Duisburg fans suddenly started shouting collectively, and everyone shouted the name of the Duisburg captain almost crazily. That hero in their hearts, Yannick, who scored the goal, rushed excitedly to the corner kick area and knelt down to celebrate. The other Duisburg players also rushed over like crazy and celebrated the team's goal together. Ha ha ha, the captain is great, we are actually ahead, and the Paderborn people are not as powerful as the coach said. Victory in this game must belong to Duisburg. On the sidelines, in the Duisburg coaching bench, assistant coach Ed had a smile on his face at the moment, confidently spread his hands and said to Aldrich beside him, "Man, did you see that, am I right?" Paderborn's ability to score in the past few games was entirely due to luck. Their defense is vulnerable to this in Duisburg. Head coach Aldrich waved his arms and simply celebrated the team's wonderful goal. He was not so excited or even arrogant like Ed as the head coach of a team. He will not think that victory has been achieved until he hears the final whistle of the game. The situation on the field is changing rapidly based on his understanding of the Paderborn team. This team is very resilient and can often complete the winning goal at the last moment. Ed, calm down, don't get carried away. Paderborn is not as easy to defeat as you think. Thinking of this, Aldrich turned his head, with a little worry in his eyes. After hearing these words, Ed did not choose to argue with Aldrich. He shrugged and returned his attention to the arena on the field. Facing Duisburg's first goal, Paderborn's players did not look particularly frustrated after these few games. They have become more confident in their players and the team's leading scorer, Feng, just one goal behind. What's the big deal? There are still almost 80 minutes left in the regular game, so there is no need to worry. Feng and the team will definitely beat Duisburg again at the buzzer. Guys, don't be discouraged. Don't be impatient. Captain Hunemeyer hugged the other central defender who was beaten just behind and encouraged everyone loudly. There is still a long time in the game. Let's play our own ball and don't be affected by these Duisburg fans at home. Come on. Paderborn players also responded loudly, and began to walk towards his own half, preparing for a new round of kickoff. Chapter 079. The ball went over the top and the ball went in. Soon, the game started again. Feng fired a mid-circle ball again. Paderborn slowly organized an attack in the midfield, and Duisburg, whose morale was high because they had just scored a goal, started a fierce battle with Paderborn in the midfield. Overall, Paderborn has a numerical advantage in the midfield and front court, and the football is controlled at their feet more of the time. However, Duisburg's strict defense also caused frequent transitions between offense and defense. The two sides fell into an anxious scramble for a while, and no one got a better chance on the sidelines. On the Paderborn coaching bench, head coach Gerald looked a little nervous. He clenched his hands tightly and never took his eyes away from the field. "Boss, don't be so nervous. The game has only started not long ago. I believe that Paderborn's players will definitely equalize the score in the next time." Seeing Gerald a little nervous, Bradrick patted his shoulder and comforted him with a smile. Hearing these words, Gerald sighed, shook his head and said, "Things are not that simple." Duisburg guarded Feng to death, leaving him no chance to touch the ball. As he spoke, he raised his hands and pointed at Paderborn's defense and continued, "But there is a big problem on the back line. Harris and Horndl have no way to guard against Duisburg's speedy forward. If Duisburg had caught him just a few times, opportunity, maybe we may really break the winning streak at MSV Arena." Bradrick followed Gerald's fingers and looked at Harris, who was passing the ball on the back line. Harris is indeed a bit slow, but the young guys in the team can't replace him, no matter what. Let's finish the first half of the season first. Wait until the winter window. Let's see if we can find a suitable central defender to solve the team's problems." Gerald smiled bitterly, somewhat self-deprecatingly. It can be said that it is light. How can the team have so much transfer budget? The money for this season should be reserved to buy Feng. This season, the entire Paderborn team is worth only a measly €6 million. Among them, Pulikovic, Vidra, and other main players of several teams account for more than half. Even Paderborn's captain Hunemeyer is worth only €500,000 in this case. How much money can the Paderborn board allocate to the transfer budget this season? This lineup was able to be put together this year only because the main players of the original team left the Bundesliga after falling out of the Bundesliga. Just when Gerald's eyes dimmed, he suddenly discovered that Paderborn had a good opportunity. Suddenly, there was a look of expectation in his eyes. And he looked towards the field. On the court Vidra held the ball, and because there was no good path for the ball, he and Hunemeyer kept passing the ball repeatedly, waiting for opportunities. At this time, Duisburg's midfielder didn't know who Vidra was going to pass the ball to, so he slowly moved towards Vidra and stood behind him on the right side. Seeing this scene, when Hunemeyer passed the ball to Vidra, he quietly pointed to the left with his left hand. Vidra understood it clearly. After receiving the ball, he immediately turned around and took the ball to the left, then strode forward with the ball. The defensive midfielder from Duisburg was slightly startled when he saw that Vidra had passed him. And then he took a step forward and chased Vidra quickly, but at this point, it's too late. Vidra advanced with the ball, and after finding the right moment, he directly passed the ball to Feng, who came to catch the ball after catching the ball with his back. Read more novels by visiting our website Night Novels. Feng did not turn around immediately, but turned back to glance at the situation on the field. At this time, Duisburg's two central defenders had already moved over to watch him, not giving him any chance to turn around behind them. There was a defensive player from Duisburg who kept a suitable distance to prevent Feng from breaking through so that he could fill the position in time. In this situation, Feng was very calm and ignored Pulikovic's action of raising his hand to ask for the ball. I saw him taking a few steps forward with the ball, then leaning forward slightly, straightening his right toe and sticking it to the bottom of the football. After he was ready, he moved his left foot forward, lifted the ball slightly into the air with his right foot, and then kicked the ball to the left with all his strength, without waiting for the football to hit the ground. After picking it up, Feng turned to the left and ran forward in a graceful manner. Making a move to pick the ball up actually requires you to take a lot of risks, especially people like Feng who don't watch football at all. After choosing, because the football flying in the air may not necessarily reach the predetermined position, but Feng had a good feel for the ball. When he picked up the ball, he expected that the football would definitely land in his forward position. As expected, the football seemed to be tracking automatically and accurately arrived on the left side of Duisburg's two central defenders. After seeing the pass, they turned around quickly and looked anxiously at another defensive player. In the penalty area, they now have no way to interfere with Feng and can only pin the team's hopes on him. The central defender did not disappoint. As soon as Feng broke through, he sprinted towards him and blocked him from the goal, but who would have thought Feng actually had no intention of stopping the ball and continuing to advance. After he waited until the football was in the right position, he used his right foot to move the football a little to the right again. This position has separated him from the Duisburg defender. Although the shooting angle from this position is relatively small, he can indeed complete the shot. As the football fell from the air, Feng, with determined eyes, had already determined where the football would land, and waited until it landed on the front thigh. He stretched out his body, swung his right arm backwards with his body, and at the same time raised his right foot. His thigh drove his calf, and he hit the football hard. Bang! A dull voice sounded, and the football flew quickly towards the Duisburg net like an arrow off the string. In an instant, everyone on the scene seemed to have stopped breathing and froze on the spot, all their eyes focused on the football flying towards the goal. Duisburg's goalkeeper felt nervous. The quality of the volley here was very high. While the football was spinning at high speed in the air, it was also accompanied by a strange arc. This all makes it more difficult for him to save. However, he still reacted, judged the general direction of the football, and jumped out with all his strength. He tried his best to do his job as a goalkeeper, but Lady Luck didn't seem to be on his side this time. A crisp voice sounded. I saw the football blasting into the goal from between the arms of the Duisburg goalkeeper. Chapter 080. The score equalizes. A chance in the second half, scored. The score on the field came to 1-1. Feng once again used his usual volley to equalize the score and save Paderborn's decline. Deafening cheers suddenly erupted from the spectator seats. Paderborn fans stood up one after another, picked up the black and blue scarves in their hands, and waved them wantonly to celebrate the team Feng scoring this goal. It has to be Feng. Feng is really the best gift God has given to the team this season. If this momentum continues, I believe Feng will definitely win the Bundesliga Golden Boot this season. This game, the victory of the game will still belong to AS Paderborn. On the sidelines, on the Paderborn coaching bench after scoring the goal, the excited Gerald clenched his hands and raised his head above his head, sprinting back and forth in the coaching area, celebrating when Feng helped the team to equalize the score. Boss, am I right? The wind will take action. After Brad finished celebrating, he opened his hands and hugged Gerald excitedly. Ha ha ha, Gerald chuckled, in a very good mood. I have a hunch that the victory in this game will be ours, Paderborn. They now love Feng even more in their hearts. If Paderborn is relegated to the Bundesliga 3 this season, it will be a major stain on their coaching resume. The appearance of Feng happened to save Paderborn and the two coaches. Gerald no longer has to worry that he is at risk of being dismissed from get out of class. On the court after Feng scored a goal, he sprinted to the corner kick area again to celebrate, only this time, he didn't kneel down to the Paderborn fans' stand. Instead, he came to the Duisburg fans' side, fanned his palms upward slightly, and then put them to his ears to signal Duisburg's fans. Fans, please be louder, I can't hear you. Shut. Damn Paderborn people, what is this kid so crazy about? They will be beaten by Duisburg in a moment. He seems to be the who threatened to win the Bundesliga Golden Boot. Chinese? You only scored a few goals in 3 games, how dare you be so arrogant? Ha ha ha, if I remember correctly, including this goal, it's only 4 goals, right? You're just a clown. Feng's move made the Duisburg fans very unhappy. They all stood up, pointed fingers at him, and cursed. But what is the use of these methods? It simply couldn't stop Feng's desire to penetrate the Duisburg goal, but it would become even stronger. This is Feng's choice to respond to Duisburg fans. Afterwards, the Paderborn players came to Feng one after another, hugged him and celebrated, and all of them praised Feng. Soon after the celebration, the game resumed. It was only the 34th minute of the game, 11 minutes before the end of regular time in the first half. Read more novels by visiting our website Night Novels. After Duisburg sent the ball in the middle circle, the two sides quickly fell into an exciting competition again on the sidelines. On the Duisburg coaching bench, head coach Aldrich's face was a little gloomy. He looked at Feng walking on the court with some surprise in his pupils, slowly exhaling a breath. He finally couldn't help but speak out to assistant coach Ed. Do you think this kid can still score goals? Ed was slightly stunned. He didn't realize who Aldrich was talking about. Huh? Who? On loan from Freiburg to Paderborn. That kid. Aldrich frowned, as if he didn't really miss Feng's origins because this player was once a lone player who was denied by Duisburg. Ed thought for a while, nodded and talked. Judging from the goal just now, this kid does have some ability and can stand in the Bundesliga, but it seems that his consciousness has not reached the level of the Bundesliga. At his level, that ball just now, if he split the ball, it seems to be a better choice. After all, he is still a bit young. Aldrich, don't worry about what you missed. You have to know that he is indeed if a player with a chaotic private life comes to Duisburg and takes first-team players to a nightclub. Can you bear it? After hearing Ed's words, Aldrich sighed and did not reply. He was thinking in his mind, if there was really a very talented young player who took his first-team players to the nightclub, would he be able to accept it? It shouldn't be possible, right? After thinking clearly about the result, Aldrich stopped thinking about missing the player Feng for the time being and focused on the game in the following time. Neither Paderborn nor Duisburg got very good opportunities. They always lack a little bit of effort in the final kick. Or the heroic goalkeeper steps up in time and saves the team. The wonderful offensive and defensive transitions between the two sides still received cheers from the fans present. This is a great game. Beep. Soon, the referee on duty blew the whistle to end the game, and the two sides returned to the locker room to rest with the score 1-1. 15 minutes later, the players, who had replenished their fluids, returned to the field again and began the second half of the competition. Bang! At the 65th minute of the game, Paderborn's midfielder seized the space on the right side of the front court and passed the football that had just been stolen directly to the feet of right winger Prejudice. After receiving the ball, Pulikovic quickly advanced with the ball and headed towards the penalty area. Because Duisburg's offensive organization was playing on the right, more players focused on the right, leaving a vacancy in the hands of the left player. Pulikovic stopped and lay down. easily passing the only left midfielder in front of him and reaching the hinterland of the opponent's half in front of him. Duisburg's entire defense line was already in place, waiting for Prejudic's arrival. The fullback also moved closer, lowering his center of gravity and patiently defending him. Prejudice, who had not yet figured out how to send the ball into the penalty area, suddenly raised his head and keenly discovered that Feng was intentionally moving forward to the right and was almost behind the fullback. "This is your chance." Prejudice understood this and immediately pretended to break through with a heavy shoulder. After shaking the opponent's defensive player, he immediately took off his feet and sent Feng an overhead cross. The Duisburg fullback hurriedly looked back, only to find that where the football was coming, the Chinese young player who the Duisburg head coach was very afraid of had already appeared. Feng. Chapter 081. Feng? A sudden cold arrow. After stopping the ball with his chest, Feng took a look at the situation on the field. At this time, Duisburg's defensive players were all staring at Feng, worried that he would advance into the penalty area with the ball and complete the shot. The center back closest to him immediately rushed towards Feng, not wanting to give him a chance to break through and perform. Bang bang bang. Feng, who was driving the ball forward, quickly confronted the central defender, but obviously, Duisburg's central defender is a bit young and lacks experience. After Feng misled him with a shoulder-shaking fake move, he easily passed him with a smooth and elegant Marseille spin. Realizing that he was being played, the central defender turned and chased Feng. When Feng was about to enter the penalty area with one big step, he reached out his hand from behind, grabbed Feng's jersey, and pulled him to the ground. Beep. The referee standing not far away immediately blew the whistle for a foul, came to the Duisburg center back, and showed him a yellow card. Then, he reached out his finger near the penalty area line, indicating that Paderborn would get a free kick. However, from a distance, it was obvious that the place where Feng fell after being pulled was in the restricted area. Shit. Damn referee, why didn't this ball be awarded a penalty kick? Paderborn head coach Gerald spread his hands and looked at the referee with an unhappy face, venting his dissatisfaction. It's best not to put any pressure on the referee. There should be no problem with this ball. Bradrick quickly grabbed Gerald to prevent his actions from being seen by the referee. As a younger man, his eyesight was much better than Gerald's, and from the position he was in, he could clearly see what happened on the field just now. He knew that there was actually no big problem with the referee's penalty. Zook 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 zook. In the spectator stands, when they saw Paderborn's players falling in the front court, Duisburg fans also sent out congratulatory sounds in time. Harry did a good job. If we let this kid enter the penalty area, the consequences would be disastrous. Duisburg head coach Aldrich breathed a sigh of relief and made a positive comment on the tactical foul committed by the player on the court just now. On the field, Prejudice and Vidra, who were closer, quickly rushed over to check Feng's injury. "Feng, are you okay?" "It's okay. I can stand up after I take a moment." Feng gritted his teeth and sat on the ground, pressing his knee that had just fallen and hit the ground. Fortunately, it just pulled him and threw him to the ground, and it didn't have much impact on him. "Damn Duisburg players, you're actually playing dirty tricks, taking you down in this position? And the referee didn't award a penalty kick? I'll go find him to reason." Prejudice saw Feng was not injured, but turned to look grim and prepared to go to the referee to argue about the penalty. "No need." Feng stretched out his hand to hold Prejudice, shook his head and said, "Man, I fell outside the penalty area just now. There's nothing wrong with the referee's decision. Don't trouble the referee, so as not to get a card." As he said that, Feng's eyes became a little cold, full of hostility towards Duisburg, and he looked in the direction of Duisburg's goal. Don't Duisburg like to play these little tricks? Let him know later that this method can't stop us from Paderborn scoring goals. After the interlude, other Paderborn players waited for Feng stood up from the ground and began to discuss who would take the free kick. Read more novels by visiting our website Night Novels. As the team's #1 free kicker, Vidra wanted Feng to take the kick, but Feng knew his free kick skills and naturally refused. After all, there are specialties in the art industry, and this kind of thing should be left to professionals. He currently doesn't have any skill cards for free kicks, and taking them will only make things worse subsequently. Under the command of the referee, Duisburg quickly formed a human wall in the penalty area. This position is only more than 20 meters away from the goal in a straight line. It is a very good free kick position. Duisburg players had to guard against Vidra's free kick, which went directly into the goal. Beep. The referee blew the whistle for a free throw. Vidra stood in front of the football. He took a deep breath, then looked up in the direction of the goal, and started running to prepare for the goal. Bang! With a crisp sound, the football lifted off the ground, drew an arc in the air, and headed straight for Duisburg's goal. The quality of Vidra's shot was quite good, and it slid through a beautiful arc in the air. Duong. The Paderborn fans who were excited just now couldn't help but show a little regret in their eyes after the dull sound of iron strikes. Vidra's shot may have been too focused on the angle of the shot, but it actually hit the post on the upper left side of the goal. The football bounced back into the penalty area suddenly. The players from Paderborn and Duisburg rushed forward. The nearest Pulikovic encountered the football first, but with two Duisburg defensive players around him, he had no way to turn around and shoot at this time. Feng happened to appear in front of Pulikovic without any hesitation. Pulikovic pushed the football in front of Feng. Seeing the transfer of the football, Duisburg's defensive players did not rush for the ball. They still had one defensive player occupying Pulikovic's position, and another player went to interfere with Feng. The opportunity in front of the door will be gone in an instant if there is a slight delay. Feng, who knew this, took the ball and performed a silky Marseille spin in front of the penalty area. He missed the blocking position of the defensive player and immediately shot. Bang! With a light push, the football hit the ground and headed towards the Duisburg goal. Since there were many people standing in front of the penalty area, Duisburg's goalkeeper did not have a very good vision and did not see Feng's sudden cold arrow clearly. Hey, the Duisburg goalkeeper, who didn't react, watched in confusion as the football flew into the goal and made a dent in the net. The ball went in. Beep. The referee on duty immediately blew his whistle and pointed toward the center circle, signaling that the goal was valid. In the second half, Paderborn took the lead to break the deadlock and currently leads 2-1. In the spectator stands, the Paderborn fans were in mixed moods. They were just sighing because Vidra's free kick failed to go in, but in the end, just sitting down. Why did Paderborn score again? Moreover, it's Feng again. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 082. Aldrich's Big Gamble, a hat trick. After scoring, Feng rushed toward the Duisburg fan stands and celebrated by sliding on his knees. When he came to a stop in the corner area, Feng still spread his hands and raised them slightly toward the sky, signaling them to speak louder. This action is to provoke the Duisburg fans, but in other words, he was responding to the Duisburg fans' disrespect for Paderborn players. Wind, it's so exciting, you still need to take action at critical moments. You are the hero sent by God to save Paderborn. Paderborn's players are going crazy. The ground rushed over, suppressing Feng underneath, and once again started celebrating like a stack of arhats. Get up. You're going to crush me to death, Feng joked from below with a breathless smile. It was unlikely that he would be crushed to death, but so many people were pressing on him, making him sweat all over. After almost finishing the entire game, Feng didn't even sweat much. How could it affect his flowing hairstyle? On the sidelines, on the Duisburg coaching bench, head coach Aldrich looked at the Paderborn players celebrating and angrily kicked away a bottle of mineral water next to him. Shit, why is this kid everywhere? After kicking the mineral water bottle, Aldrich seemed a little upset. He turned around and spread his hands at Ed and said angrily, Ed, you saw this damn thing. How wonderful is the performance of the Chinese boy? Is this the problem boy you call? This is the player you once vetoed. How stupid is your suggestion? Otherwise, I believe that he has already stood on the MSV arena and scored the winning goal for Duisburg. Ed's face was slightly ugly after being scolded, and he froze in place and didn't know what to say. He also did not expect that this young Chinese player with serious professional ethics problems would actually have a strange chemical reaction after being loaned to Paderborn. Help Paderborn win one after another. Who dares to bet that a forward who has performed well in the youth league can continue to be invincible in the official professional league? Okay, Aldrich, this matter is indeed because of my problem. Ed raised his head, his eyes were a little dazed, and he did not dare to look at Aldrich. But what is the use of talking about this now? The current problem, how can we save the team from falling behind in the score? You can't be defeated by Paderborn at your home court, right? In this case, how many fans will we receive after the game? HMPH, Austria. Derek snorted coldly. Obviously he still had feelings for Ed regarding Feng's matter. You don't need to teach me these things. Go tell Klotz to prepare for warm-up and replace Doom. Ed nodded and turned around to prepare for the substitution. Duisburg's substitution at this time was also a desperate gamble. Head coach Aldrich replaced the original 5 defenders with 1 forward and played a 4-4-2. 2 formation in this way, it does increase the offensive ability of the front court, no longer relying on the original single forward. Read more novels by visiting our website Night Novels, but while attacking aggressively, Duisburg's defense was no longer as solid as it was before. Soon, the fourth official on the sidelines raised the substitution sign. After Duisburg's substitution, the game restarted. After the adjustment of substitutions, it is obvious from the field that Duisburg players have more fighting spirit and confidence than before. It seems that everyone hopes that this change of head coach can help the team equalize the score. Their desire to win is still relatively strong. In the following period, Duisburg's front court players organize the offense quite well. There are always players who can link up on Paderborn's wings and at the top of the center circle to organize an offensive routine, and this also led to the Duisburg players who saw hope and continue to invest their troops in the front court no matter how difficult it is for them to break through Paderborn's double midfielder. When the opportunity comes, they always need to try. They cannot accept losing to Paderborn at their home court, and when Duisburg's 2 fullbacks began to move forward frequently, Paderborn's players knew that the opportunity was coming. In the second half, the game time was 77 minutes. Klotz, the striker who advanced the ball into Paderborn's ribs, was flanked by 2 Paderborn defenders who suddenly attacked the player stuck in Klotz's offensive line. Decisively extended his foot and poked the football from Klotz's feet to the left. Hunemir, who arrived in time, passed the ball straight to midfielder Vidra, who was returning the ball without stopping. Vidra, who had been waiting for a long time, immediately turned around after receiving the ball, looked up to observe the situation on the field, and then made a long pass that made the Duisburg fans scream and panic. The smooth long pass went directly to Duisburg's half. But what about Duisburg? The 2 fullbacks frequently penetrated Paderborn's midfield defense and scored the ball into the dangerous area. At this time, they had no way to return to defense in a timely and effective manner. Duisburg, which had been implementing a defensive counterattack strategy in the first half, was actually stunned by a quick counterattack by its opponent Paderborn in the second half, and this is, of course, the result of Duisburg head coach Aldrich's losing bet. Once you include gambling in your decision-making, you must be mentally prepared to lose. Vidra's long pass didn't land at all, and was snatched away by Plikovic, who successfully countered offside. He passed the ball with a header and once again gave the ball to Feng, who was advancing at high speed in the middle. Feng, who ran ahead of time, left the defensive player behind him from a distance, forming a one-man attack. The Duisburg goalkeeper decisively abandoned the goal after Feng entered the penalty area, but Feng was very calm. After shaking the goalkeeper, he chose to push with his right foot. Bang! The football quickly passed by the Duisburg goalkeeper and flew into the far corner of the goal into the net. Beep! The referee blew the whistle immediately and pointed to the center circle, indicating that the goal was valid. The ball went in. Feng completed his first hat-trick in his Bundesliga career. Gullo. 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 The commentator of this game no longer knew how to express his excitement, so he could only repeat the syllables of the goal for a long time as usual. In the 78th minute, Paderborn leads 3-1. The victory is almost sealed. Feng scored 3 goals in this game, completing a hat-trick for the first time in the Bundesliga too. Oh my god. I can't believe it. What a talented player this is. Chapter 083. Victory in the competition, public opinion turmoil on the internet. Paderborn fans who came from the expedition quickly stood up from their seats and shouted like a mountain, and at Tsunami 3 goals. Feng completed a hat-trick in this game. They love Feng so much. Beautiful. On the sidelines, on Paderborn's coaching bench, head coach Gerald also jumped up excitedly and hugged assistant coach Prejudice next to him. 3 balls. Feng was so powerful that he actually scored a hat-trick. With about 15 minutes left, it would be difficult for Duisburg to score 2 goals in a row. It can be said that these 3 points are already very stable. Even the other Paderborn substitutes sitting on the bench stood up, waved their arms and shouted for the team. Feng's performance on the court really shocked them. On the field, Paderborn's players sprinted towards Feng with great excitement. They didn't wait for Feng to kneel down to celebrate, then directly surrounded Feng in the middle, hugging and high-fiving him in celebration. Feng, that's great. You completed a hat-trick. Fark. Fark. I can't believe it. Feng has only been in the Bundesliga for a long time and has already completed a hat-trick. Ha ha ha. Feng, me too, assisted in a hat-trick. This is the first time in my life. Behind the excited celebration of the Paderborn players were a group of frustrated Duisburg players. At this point in time, Paderborn widened the score gap by 2 points. It can be said that Duisburg has no chance of coming back. This is not the Champions League or the 5 major leagues. This is the Bundesliga 2. For a team that is struggling to survive relegation to score 2 goals in the last 15 minutes, it is almost impossible. The difference between 2 goals, allowing Duisburg's players to gradually accept the defeat of this game. They did not make any violent counter-attack in the following time, and the rhythm on the court slowed down under such circumstances. Some dissatisfied Duisburg fans also left the viewing seats early from their regretful backs. You should be able to see how sad they are. Beep. 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 With the referee's whistle at the end of the game finally ended with a score of 3-1. Su Feng scored a hat-trick and was elected the best player of the game. Players from both sides walked to their respective benches with mixed emotions. The big screen camera of the game also focused on Su Feng at this time, giving the best player in the game a close-up of his back, and the name Feng behind Su Feng also rang throughout the MSV arena. Many Paderborn fans who did not understand Chinese also followed the people around them and made excited noises. Feng, Feng. The wave of cheers gradually expanded from the Paderborn stands to the entire stadium among the Duisburg fans. Those who did not leave early were not die-hard fans at this time. Some of them also shouted out Su Feng's name. Although their home team suffered a defeat at home today, it is undeniable that this game was a very exciting game. The Chinese player on the field is also an outstanding player. It was impossible for them to switch sides and become Paderborn fans, but a talented player like Su Feng really impressed them with his wonderful performance. Read more novels by visiting our website Night Novels. As for those fans who were rude to Paderborn, they disappeared after the disastrous defeat in Duisburg. Courtside, Paderborn head coach Gerald hugged every player passionately with a bright face. Their eyes were full of expectations for the future of the team. The team has recently won 3 consecutive victories and will rise again in the German second division rankings. According to this momentum, charge for armor, it's really not impossible, and all of this is a change after the introduction of new players from Freiburg. You can tell who is the main contributor at a glance. Feng, your performance today shocked us so much. When it was Su Feng's turn, Gerald held hands tightly after hugging him and continued with a look of expectation. I believe you will be the best in Paderborn. Have a wonderful season. At that time, if you are willing, I will definitely fulfill the buyout contract and bring you from Freiburg to Paderborn. Su Feng nodded with a smile. He nodded and said nothing more. He knew that his contract included a preemptive right of 2 million. This kind of treaty means that as long as he reaches an agreement with Paderborn and is willing to stay in Paderborn, Freiburg will have no way to interfere. Take away 2 million euros directly. This is also a good clause given to Paderborn by Freiburg head coach Mr. Stricky, who does not believe that Su Feng can produce such a valuable performance in one season, but judging from the current situation, 2 million euros does not seem to be in line with his worth. By the end of this season, at least he can double it several times. After all, Su Feng is very hopeful to win the Bundesliga Golden Boot award this season. And at the age of 17, after the game, the Paderborn players take the bus again and return to Paderborn Training Center. This victory gave Paderborn its 3rd consecutive victory. It can be said that the morale of the entire team is high, and they are very hopeful to achieve good results in the Bundesliga league this season. However, compared to these, Everbright media paid more attention to Su Feng himself. News reports one after another have once again become the headlines of the German Bundesliga 2 news. Paderborn defeated Duisburg and won 3 consecutive victories. The Chinese youngster is expected to lead the team to the first place. Shocked. The 17-year-old Chinese player performed a hat-trick, the biggest dark horse in Bundesliga 2, expected to advance to the Bundesliga. What? The reason behind Paderborn's 3-game winning streak is actually because of him. Through the influence of reports, fans of the German second division team all know about the recent wonderful performance of Su Feng, a Chinese young player. In 3 games, with an average of 70 minutes per game, he scored a total of 6 goals, temporarily tied for 3rd in the Bundesliga top scorer list. Expected to compete for the Bundesliga Golden Boot award. However, once you start to gain prominence in the media and gain some traffic, there will always be scumbags who will come forward and maliciously smear you. What? There is such a talented player in the football desert? The media must investigate. Isn't this a planned player from China? Chinese people like to play these tricks the most. Paderborn wants to re-entering the Bundesliga this season? What a fantasy. A 17-year-old player is nothing. Ha ha ha. Can Paderborn only use 17-year-old kids as their main players now? This kind of rubbish player. Are you threatening to compete for the Golden Boot of the season? Do I, General Peterson, have no face? I heard that this player came from the Freiburg youth training camp. I really hope to see Paderborn and Freiburg earlier. A fight. Chapter 084. Ups and downs of status? The 10th round is coming. Peterson once wore the number 9 jersey and played for Bayern Munich in the 11-12 season. But in the Bundesliga, where there are so many players, his performance is not very impressive. After several changes, in the 15-16 season, Freiburg head coach Stretch brought him back to the Dressem Stadium. Peterson, who came to the Bundesliga too, seems to have ushered in the second spring of his career. He scored a hat-trick against Duisburg in the first game. He played 5 games for Freiburg in the league this season and scored a total of 8 goals, temporarily ranked first in the Bundesliga 2-scorer list. This is the most powerful basis for Freiburg to win the Bundesliga championship this season. Therefore, Freiburg, which leads the standings, has also become the favorite among netizens to win the championship. Freiburg fans even nicknamed Peterson the General in this case. If Feng wants to compete for the German second division Golden Boot, he must step on Peterson. How could Freiburg fans accept this? They all attacked on the internet. As the debate on the internet becomes more intense, many fans are beginning to look forward to the 10th round of the Bundesliga too, when Paderborn plays away to Freiburg. Moreover, Feng is also a player on loan from the Freiburg Youth Academy to Paderborn, which can be said to have made this game full of drama. Can the players loaned out by Freiburg help their team defeat their home team? Everyone is full of doubts. As the 5th round of the Bundesliga 2 comes to an end, there is not much time left in August. In the following days, Paderborn did not play any games and had to wait until September 12th for the 6th round home game against Heidenheim. However, after Feng's extraordinary performance during this period, he has completely become a hero in the hearts of Paderborn fans. Every day when players enter and leave the training center, you can always see some fans wearing Paderborn jerseys standing outside the Paderborn training center, waiting for Feng, signing autographs and taking photos with him. There is nothing strange about Feng being treated like this. Paderborn is just a small-town football team at best, and their fans have already regarded Feng as their spiritual sustenance, become the pride of the Paderborn team. After all, Feng not only helped the team win the match, but also ranked among the top scorers in the Bundesliga 2 with 6 goals in 3 games, and Feng also likes the fans' enthusiasm and love very much. Small-town football is often like this. Every fan regards the team as their own home and the players as their children. Even if the team performs poorly, they will cheer for the team and hold an umbrella for the team on rainy days. What's more, the team's recent form is still so hot. This kind of football atmosphere is not found in other regions and countries. This is also the reason why Feng loves Paderborn deeply. Outside of daily training time, Feng often takes time to travel through the bustling city of Paderborn late at night to experience the city's cultural heritage while carrying out his own special training. He felt Paderborn up close. Just like that, ordinary life passed quickly. The 6th round of the Bundesliga 2 is coming soon. In this game, Paderborn's opponent was Heidenheim, a team that had just been promoted to the Bundesliga 2. Compared with Paderborn, Heidenheim has more of a small-town football feel. Facing such an opponent, Paderborn should be able to secure the 3 points. Read more novels by visiting our website Night Novels. But in the history of football, there is no shortage of upsets. Heidenheim, who had just debuted in the Bundesliga 2, was not afraid of strong opponents and fought hard in the second half. He successfully scored a key goal in stoppage time at the end of the game, successfully tied the score. Feng's fiery state also paused for a while. In this game, he did not score a goal. The evaluation given by Chicago system is only A level, with a score of 2 Chica points. Facing such a weak team at home, but only gain 1 point, for head coach Gerald, this is unacceptable. He angrily scolded all the Paderborn players in the locker room after the game. The so-called arrogant soldiers must be defeated. This may be the case. That's all the time came to September 17th, the 7th round of the Bundesliga 2. Paderborn faced Karlsruhe away from home, but unexpectedly, facing this mid-range team in the Bundesliga 2, Paderborn only surrendered a 2-2 answer at the Wilder Park Stadium and failed to win. Paderborn suffered 2 consecutive draws. In this game, Feng contributed 1 goal and 1 assist. Once again, as usual, he received an S-level rating and 3 cool points after the game. The atmosphere in the team's locker room was a little delicate. Paderborn, who was originally in a hot state, actually got 2 draws in a row. The head coach Gerald was so angry that he did not give the players who had returned from the expedition a holiday. He directly held an ideological construction meeting the next day to educate the players. If this momentum continues, Paderborn's previous 3 consecutive victories do not seem to have a big advantage after all. They are off to a great start. If you want to get a good ranking in the Bundesliga 2 and compete for the chance to advance to the Bundesliga, you can't just get 1 point from these weak teams. In late September, Paderborn's schedule is tighter. They will compete with Fürth and Munich 1860 on the 23rd and 26th respectively. However, after Gerald's timely adjustments, the Paderborn players, whose condition has improved, performed relatively well in these two games. First, they tied with a veteran German second division team Fürth 1-1. This was followed by a 4-0 win over 1860 Munich, a lower-tier Bundesliga team. In the two games, Feng scored a total of 3 goals. At this time, the 9 rounds of the Bundesliga league are over. With 10 goals, Feng and Freiburg Peterson are temporarily tied for the top scorer list. As for the team, Paderborn also scored a total of 15 points, reaching 5th place in the Bundesliga 2 in one fell swoop. Things are looking great in Paderborn right now, as long as they stabilize the situation in the middle of the league and get a place in the promotion playoffs. There seems to be great hope. Gerald also had a long-lost smile on his face, looking forward to the team's next victory. However, in the 10th round of the Bundesliga 2, Paderborn will have its biggest win of the season. A tough opponent, the favorite team to win the German second division, Freiburg. In this way, in the 10th round of the Bundesliga 2, Paderborn played as a guest at Freiburg's home game. Also on October 6th, it finally arrived. Chapter 085. Encountering Dennis by chance. It's time to enter. October 6th, Freiburg, Baden-Württemberg, Germany. The Black Forest Stadium, which can accommodate 25,000 spectators, was packed. Among them, Freiburg has more than 20,000 fans, and less than 4,000 fans are Paderborn fans who came from the expedition. As for the others, they are neutral fans working in Freiburg. Although this game is not the final of a major competition, it still attracts a lot of attention. Freiburg, the favorite team to win the Bundesliga 2, faced this season's dark horse team Paderborn. In addition, the young Chinese player has made a name for himself in the German second division at the age of 17 and is tied for the top scorer list with General Peterson. Isn't that one a highlight? In the dugout on the sideline, Freiburg's head coach Stretch came to the court early and led the team in warm-up training as the head coach of Freiburg U17. Dennis actually stood by Stretch's side. There was no match for the team today, so he simply followed Strachey to the home court of the first team to watch the game up close. After all, Feng was once a player under Dennis, and he also wanted to see how far Feng had improved. However, as a staff member of the Freiburg club, he has some complicated feelings. He hopes that his former favorite player Feng can dominate the Bundesliga 2 and use his outstanding performance to prove that Dennis himself is a visionary youth coach. But at the same time, I more or less don't want Freiburg to really lose to Paderborn. Although he had some conflicts with Strachey regarding the loan of Feng, but after all, Strachey has had a relationship with him for many years. If Paderborn really blows up Freiburg, then Strachey will definitely be held accountable by Freiburg's senior management. An outstanding player from Freiburg's youth training failed to make it into the first team to contribute to the team, but instead went out on loan and destroyed his home team. If this matter is revealed, every staff member in Freiburg will lose face. Stretch, how sure are you of defeating Paderborn today? Dennis looked around the stadium for a while, and finally couldn't help but ask Stretch the question he was most concerned about. If Freiburg loses this game, Freiburg will be really embarrassed. Personally, I still hope that you can lead the team to victory to avoid being scolded by the chairman. Strachey chuckled. His face seemed to be more relaxed, and he shook his head and replied, "Don't worry, I have been following every game played by Paderborn recently. Paderborn is actually not as powerful as you think. Therefore, in several games, you have been unable to win against a weak team like Heidenheim. How strong can the overall strength be? There is still a big gap between us and a Bundesliga-level team." At this point, Strachey seemed to have thought of something, sighed, and continued with a bitter look on his face. "However, Feng is indeed very capable of scoring goals. He has only played 7 games for Paderborn. To be able to top the scorer list in just 1 game? This is really something I didn't expect. No matter what the result of this game is, Freiburg will lose nearly 10 million euros. And the victory in this game is just it must be Freiburg's last fig leaf." Dennis nodded, understanding what Strachey meant. In other words, Feng's current performance alone can prove that he is worth more than 2 million euros. And Freiburg's losses are a certainty, but although Freiburg will lose money, it cannot lose its last identity in front of the fans. Read more novels by visiting our website Night Novels. Soon, both sides had almost completed the players' warm-up on the field, and the players were ready to enter the player tunnel. Feng returned to Paderborn's bench, took a sip of water, and walked towards the players' tunnel. But on the way, he bumped into Dennis, the first coach to accept him after being fired by Mönchengladbach. Mr. Dennis, I didn't expect to see you here again." After seeing Dennis, Su Feng had a smile on his face and greeted him cordially. Now, Paderborn has not fulfilled the contract and brought Su Feng to the Benteler Arena. In other words, Su Feng is still a member of Freiburg U17. Ha ha ha. Dennis was very happy to meet Su Feng again on the field. He walked over with a smile and hugged Su Feng. "Feng, I can't believe that you have performed so well since you came to the Bundesliga too. If you had not left Freiburg U17, the Youth League Championship this season would definitely be yours." As he spoke, Dennis showed a trace of regret in his eyes. Mr. Dennis, I didn't expect that the club would loan me out so quickly. Su Feng was a little embarrassed and quickly changed the topic. "But how has the team's performance been since I left?" "No. It's so good, maybe it will be the same as last season's ranking." Dennis shook his head, as if he didn't want to mention this sad incident, patted Su Feng on the shoulder and said, "Boy, you have to work hard for today's game. Come on. Those brats like Alger and Hardy all came to the scene today to watch your game." Su Feng had a look of shock on his face. He originally thought that only Dennis, the original old coach, would come to watch this game, but who would have thought that the good brothers Alger and Hardy would also come to the scene. However, it turns out that I told Alger that we would win the Youth League Championship together, join the first team together, and make contributions to the team. In the end, it backfired and there may never be a chance again in the future. Thinking of this, Su Feng couldn't help but shook his head, said goodbye to Dennis, and turned to the players' tunnel, ready to start the game. Looking at Su Feng's leaving figure, Dennis felt like there was a thorn stuck in his mouth. He couldn't say what he wanted to say for a long time. He actually wanted to ask Su Feng if it was possible to return to Freiburg, but after Su Feng left, he thought again and it seemed impossible. In Paderborn, Su Feng can become the absolute core of the team and get the opportunity to play stably, but after this season, even if he returns to Freiburg's first team, can he become the absolute core facing Freiburg, which has many stars? It's most likely impossible, right? Then what is he doing back? Even if Dennis doesn't want to lose this powerful general in his hands, he can't delay Su Feng's professional future because of his own selfish thoughts, right? Returning to the players' tunnel, Su Feng stood silently in the back row of the team, waiting for the referee's whistle to announce his entry. Local time, 2:10 p.m. The referee blew the entry whistle on time and led the players from both sides into the court. Su Feng raised his head and looked at the Freiburg players around him. At the same time, he also looked forward to a hearty contest with them later. Chapter 086 was the first to score, leading 1-0. Walking out of the players' tunnel, deafening cheers suddenly came from the entire stadium. Freiburg! 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 Because most of the stadium is Freiburg fans, the name of Freiburg resounds in the Hessen-Bell Stadium. As for the Paderborn fans sitting in the stands opposite, Su Feng could hardly hear their shouts. "Peterson! Peterson, make that Chinese guy look good. You are the top scorer in the Bundesliga, Peterson." Fuck Paderborn, wait until the players from both sides start. During the pre-match ceremony in the stadium, Freiburg fans organized and shouted the names of their star players. Hearing the shouts from the stands, Freiburg's number 9 player Peterson couldn't help but glance at the Paderborn players. Among them, I found the black-haired and yellow-skinned Su Feng. "You are indeed very young," Peterson sighed softly, with a bit of hostility in his eyes. He also paid attention to Su Feng's goal statistics, and even though he played to fewer games than him, he actually tied for first place with him. No matter how lucky he is, it more or less shows that his strength is not weak. Have the ability to compete with him. Thinking of this, Peterson couldn't help but warn himself in his heart that he must not underestimate the enemy during the game. We must firmly hold the title of top scorer in the Bundesliga 2 in our hands. On the other side, Su Feng, who was standing in the middle of the team, naturally understood what the Freiburg fans were shouting. Some teammates also told him that the last time he threatened to compete for the Bundesliga Golden Boot at the press conference, it caused a great response throughout Germany. Many fans are waiting to watch him compete with General Peterson of Freiburg. However, Su Feng was a little surprised. Isn't that just saying, get the German second division Golden Boot? Is there any need to be so malicious? Isn't this thing obtained by strength? Feng, don't let the Freiburg fans affect your mentality, and play the game seriously later. Vidra, who was standing next to Su Feng, had obviously seen these big scenes. He patted Su Feng on the shoulder and encouraged him. "Road, I will try my best to create opportunities for you. Then I will score a few more goals and defeat the Freiburg general. Come back and win the Bundesliga Golden Boot." Su Feng smiled and nodded without replying. Soon after the pre-match ceremony, the players from both sides set up their formations on the field. Beep, With the referee's whistle, the game officially started, and Su Feng fired the ball in the middle for Paderborn. After serving the ball, he slowly walked towards the front court, waiting for the opportunity to catch the ball. In this game, Su Feng was still Freiburg's key target. As soon as he came to the front court, he felt several pairs of naked eyes staring at him. However, he is not worried about Freiburg's special care for him as long as Paderborn passes the ball to his feet at the right time. He is confident that he can score Freiburg's goal. But when will such an opportunity come? Can other teammates withstand Freiburg's ferocious offensive? Read more novels by visiting our website Night Novels. Su Feng doesn't know this. Bang bang bang. Paderborn's backcourt began to control the ball, trying to use quick transfers to stretch Freiburg's defense and pass the ball to the opponent. In the hinterland, leave it to Su Feng to complete the fatal blow. But no matter how he was mobilized, the number 6 defensive midfielder France, who had just transferred to Freiburg for €3 million, was always keeping an eye on Su Feng. In this game, he played as a free agent. No matter where Su Feng went, he would always follow him like a fly. In the Bundesliga too, as a midfielder with a high value, he did the dirtiest and most tiring job in this game, and all this is to limit Su Feng from scoring goals. Seeing this scene, the corners of Su Feng's mouth couldn't help but raise slightly. Since Duisburg's head coach achieved good results with this set of tactics, Su Feng will receive this kind of special care on the court in almost every subsequent round. He has already adapted the changes made by other teams for him. All prove Su Feng's strength, which makes most head coaches afraid. Of course, Su Feng was not afraid of this, but it made him feel a little excited. What a sense of accomplishment it is to score the ball against the opponent's high-intensity defense. In the following period, France's defensive effect was very good, and Paderborn was unable to connect the midfielder with Su Feng. The two sides competed fiercely and quickly changed possession of the ball, leaving Su Feng with few opportunities to touch the ball. The 9th minute of the game, Vidar tried to split the ball in the middle and penetrate from the side, but as soon as he took a shot, Freiburg's captain Grieve seemed to notice it. He rushed up at high speed and intercepted the ball before Plekovic could catch the ball. The ball changed and Freiburg quickly launched a counter-attack. Peterson, who sensed the opportunity, jumped in at high speed and rushed towards the Paderborn penalty area, and at this moment, Griffo's long overhead pass came as promised. Peterson broke out very quickly, and the Freiburg midfielder directly passed a long ball to Peterson, which was not expected by the Paderborn defense players. By the time they chased back, they were already behind Peterson. This cross was of high quality. After drawing a beautiful arc in the air, it stayed firmly on Peterson's sprint route. After receiving the ball, Peterson strode into the penalty area and shot a powerful and heavy shot straight into the far corner of the Paderborn goalkeeper. Hey, there is no doubt that Peterson did not waste this excellent opportunity and scored the ball steadily. The ball went in. Gullo. Gullo. Garlo. The ball is in. On the rostrum on the sidelines, the commentator of this game shouted excitedly. Just now he was analyzing Paderborn's side-splitting tactics, but the next second Leborg launched a quick counter-attack, and Peterson scored the ball directly. Less than 10 minutes into the game, Peterson scored first. Freiburg leads 1-0. Oh my god, Freiburg is in really good shape today, steadily taking the lead at home. It looks like we've won the championship. The popular Freiburg seems to be winning this game easily. Paderborn is a bit stunned. The commentator's excited voice came from the sidelines. All Freiburg fans stood up from their seats, waving their arms heartily, cheering for Freiburg's wonderful goal. What's more, the die-hard fans sitting in the north and south stands of the Black Forest Stadium shouted the names of their heroes in an organized manner. Peterson, Peterson. Chapter 087. Fairy Ball. The whole audience was shocked. Ha ha ha. In the coaching bench on the sidelines, Freiburg head coach Stretch raised his hands in the air and celebrated excitedly. At the same time, he turned around and motioned for the fans behind him to cheer louder. Less than 10 minutes into the game, Freiburg penetrated Paderborn's goal. In his eyes, this seemed to be a victory. Brenz, what I said is right. The strength of Freiburg and Paderborn is really not on the same level. The victory of this game will eventually belong to us. Bruns also followed excitedly. Strachey gave him a high five and nodded in agreement, and the other side, Paderborn's head coach Gerald, looked a little ugly. Paderborn did not encounter a strong team like Freiburg in the first 10 rounds. He knew that this game would be a tough nut to crack, but he didn't expect that it would not only be tough to crack, but also seem to be a little bit thorny. Hunemeyer, let the players be more vigilant, don't push the defense too close. Remember that our primary goal in this game is to get a point, stabilize the situation. Somewhat anxious, Gerald shouted loudly towards Hunemel, who was not far away after receiving the instruction. He also took advantage of the Freiburg players to celebrate and passed on the words of head coach Gerald and encouraged teammates. It's still early, don't be discouraged soon. The game resumed this time. After Paderborn sent the ball in the circle, they were not as impatient as they were at the beginning. They patiently passed the ball in the backcourt, waiting for the right opportunity on the Freiburg side. Seeing Paderborn deliberately retreating, the players became bolder and frequently started to press forward. The two sides once again fell into a fierce fight among them. Freiburg once again got several good opportunities in more than 20 minutes. Captain Griffo took a long shot from outside the penalty area, but perhaps because his intention was too obvious and his shot was a little weak, it was directly confiscated by Paderborn's goalkeeper. Although this attack did not break Paderborn's goal, Paderborn was being suppressed by Freiburg throughout the game. Danger is everywhere. They frequently won several corner kicks and bombarded Paderborn's goal from high altitude. It can be said that during this period, the goalkeeper was the most tiring and hardest working person for Paderborn. Paderborn, 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 Paderborn. With the shouts of Paderborn fans in the stands, Paderborn, who had been suppressed, finally sounded the clarion call for counterattack. 33 minutes of the game after Hunemeyer tackled the football outside the penalty area, he passed the ball directly to the midfielder. The Paderborn players, who advanced with the ball, used 1-2 and one-on-one coordination to successfully send the football to the front court. Now on the pitch, Paderborn is approaching Freiburg. Vidra, who organized the offense with the ball, carefully observed the situation on the field before passing the ball. After determining that Feng did not have a comfortable receiving position, he first made a fake move in front of Freiburg's defender, and then used the highly concealed heel to knock the ball. The ball was passed to the Paderborn player who came from behind to receive the ball. The receiving player broke through from the side with the ball, and when the Freiburg players rushed towards him, he promptly gave the ball to Prejudice, who was running forward from the side. Pulikovic started quickly on the wing, stopped and moved, brought the ball near the baseline, and sent across to the center. The football lifted off the ground, flew a certain distance in the air, and then landed near the top of the arc in the penalty area. Feng, who was standing nearby, and two Freiburg players instantly sprinted over to compete for the football. The approaching Freiburg player, at about the same distance, raised his right foot high and ran straight towards the football, preparing to make a clearance. But the next scene made everyone in the Black Forest Stadium stunned. Feng took off directly when he was about 1 or 2 meters away. His whole body rose into the air, as if he had stepped on a somersault cloud, and his body stretched out. Read more novels by visiting our website Night Novels. He stepped down hard with his left foot, arched his body, and hit the football with his right calf. Bang! A dull sound sounded. After the football was hit by a huge collision, it changed direction and flew towards the Freiburg goal. The Freiburg goalkeeper, who was waiting hard, jumped up to make a save, but the football almost touched the door frame and he had no way to reach it. Hey! The football hit the goal and made a dent in the net. The ball went in. Paderborn equalized the score. In the spectator stands, all the Paderborn fans jumped up excitedly and shouted loudly at the top of their lungs. Some of the Freiburg fans on the side also cheered for this wonderful goal, while others were stunned in their seats and could not react for a long time. What goal is this? Divine goal! Jump up and volley the ball directly into the goal. How could such a goal happen in the Bundesliga second division? It's incredible. On the coaching bench, Freiburg coach Strachey was stunned, with anger visible in his eyes. Damn it, how did you score a goal? He turned around, spread his hands towards Dennis, and asked with a frown, can't he stop the ball? He keeps shooting the ball directly. Quing, how can the training of players be at this level? Fark. Seeing that Strachey was a little impatient, Dennis sighed, walked up and patted him on the shoulder, saying helplessly, men, I just let Paderborn score a goal. There is no need to lose such a big temper. It's not like Welles to Paderborn. Besides, such a goal can be scored. There is also a lot of luck involved, so don't worry too much. After hearing what Dennis said, the angry Strachey controlled his emotions a little, but he still cursed her over and over again. In his heart there was nothing he could do. The goal Feng scored just now was really shocking to him. There is indeed a lot of luck involved in this ball, but if you don't have strong strength, not everyone can get it. Among the goals Feng scored in the Bundesliga too, this type of volley was the most popular. This proves that he has a good feel for the ball and can accurately judge the landing point and falling speed of the football. These are talents. On the court, Feng, who scored the goal, knelt down to celebrate when they reached the bottom line. Paderborn head coach Gerald couldn't help but run over and high-five Feng, who had not yet gotten up, to celebrate. Wind. That's great. The place he was standing just now was very close to where Su Feng kicked off. And he could clearly watch the entire process of scoring a goal. How to say, this goal fully demonstrated Su Feng's talent. Gerald couldn't calm down for a long time. Total genius. When you meet such a player, do you still need to train him to become the next Ronaldo or Messi? No need at all. In the future, Su Feng will create his own world. Chapter 088. Stabilize the situation. Is Freiburg sure of victory? It was very different from the celebration scene of Paderborn players. Freiburg players were stunned in place. How could this goal be scored? This is the common doubt that all of them have in their hearts at this moment. If you don't say that this is an ordinary round of the Bundesliga league, just look at Su Feng's magical goal just now. I'm afraid some people may think that this is happening in the Champions League. Right, there is no way. Who can believe that a 17-year-old Chinese kid, less than a few months after arriving in the Bundesliga, actually kicked such a goal? There should be a high probability that this will be selected for this year's Puskas Award, right? Oh God. This is simply unbelievable. Captain Greiver of Freiburg spread his hands, raised his head and stared at the sky, seeming to question God that this was unreasonable. At this moment, Center Peterson walked up to him, his eyes widened in shock, obviously not recovering from the shock. Grifo, this kid's goal just now reminds me of a star. Hearing this, Grifo retracted his hands and looked at him suspiciously. Who? Peterson hesitated, exhaled slowly, and then spoke. Robin van Persie, my idol. The goal he scored just now is very similar to the goal that Van Persie became famous, said an opponent's player at the game, very similar to legendary star. Such words seem to boost others' morale and destroy one's own prestige. Even if Grieve was slightly impressed by Van Persie's wonderful goal, it was impossible for him to admit Peterson's words at this time. Man, you may be a little nervous and think too much. Grifo chuckled and put his arm around his shoulders. Even if there are some similarities, so what? He's not Van Persie, he's just a guy. What kind of disturbance can a 17-year-old Chinese kid create? In this game, Freiburg will definitely be trampled under our feet. Okay, don't think about this anymore, focus on it, and try to win before the halftime break. Keep the score with Paderborn. Peterson nodded, and then walked towards the center circle with Grifo. Soon after Paderborn's players celebrated, the game resumed. For a moment, the Freiburg players who had taken the ball from the center circle began to feel resentful. Su Feng's skills are indeed good. Why did such a player not enter Freiburg's first team, but was loaned to Paderborn? If Coach Strachey had not done such a puzzling thing, it would have been very easy for Freiburg to win against Paderborn. But at this moment, Freiburg's entire defense was almost tense, fearing that Su Feng would score another such magical goal when he came to the dangerous area. When organizing an attack in the front court, play more points to the wing. When defending, tighten towards the center. Don't give the opponent a chance. As the players from Paderborn and Freiburg scrambled on the court, the head coach of Freiburg said Strachey adjusted his tactics on the sidelines in a timely manner. He keenly discovered some of Paderborn's disadvantages on the wing and adjusted his tactics accordingly. There is no doubt that this is a good conversion. In the next period, Freiburg stabilized the situation and the rhythm gradually came to Freiburg's side even though Paderborn had several good counter-attack opportunities. Freiburg's defense retracted laterally and effectively cut off the connection between the wing and Su Feng. The 43rd minute of the game, Freiburg gets another corner kick. This corner kick went towards Peterson near the penalty spot. Read more novels by visiting our website Night Novels. Peterson is tall, on par with Hunemeyer and other tall Paderborn defenders, but in terms of jumping ability and staying in the air, he is much better as expected. Peterson, who leaped high, successfully won the penalty kick, turned his head and looked at the moon, and slammed the football in the direction of Paderborn's goal. The Paderborn goalkeeper, highly focused, also used his fists to smash the football out of the door. The football is back in the penalty area. The ghostly figure of Grifo suddenly rushed near the landing point of the football. Bang! The rest is simple. A good player can often seize this kind of shooting opportunity. The calm Grifo pushed the ball into the right corner of Paderborn's goal with a familiar push. Hey, the ball went in again. The experienced Freiburg finally stabilized the situation and expanded the score on the field again. The Freiburg fans at the scene once again let out waves of fanatical shouts. Their faces were filled with joyful smiles, and they were depressed after being scored by Paderborn. Emotions were also swept away after Grieve scored. He ran towards Peterson, who had just grabbed the header, put his arm around his shoulder, and rushed to the corner kick area to celebrate. In a certain sense, Griever was able to have this opportunity to make a supplementary shot because of Peterson. The two of them are both Freiburg scorers. They have a good relationship in private, And it goes without saying that they have a tacit understanding of cooperation on the court. Very good, very good. On the sidelines, on the coaching bench, Freiburg coach Strachey applauded the players excitedly at the same time. He did not hesitate to express his praise at all. Just keep playing like this and beat Paderborn to pieces. In this case, I believe the chairman will not punish me. After all, this season, I will lead Freiburg back to the Bundesliga. Strachey was actually telling the truth. He originally loaned Feng to Paderborn because of the close relationship between Chairman Freiburg and Chairman Paderborn, and he nodded in agreement. However, Strachey, who did not agree with Feng at the beginning, actually agreed to Paderborn's first buyout clause when negotiating with Paderborn. In fact, he was doing things according to his usual habits, but he didn't expect that Feng was a freak. After Paderborn bought out Feng, Freiburg would lose nearly 10 million, but this amount there is no comparison between the loss and whether Freiburg can advance to the Bundesliga after becoming a Bundesliga team, regardless of the team's performance. It will receive a large amount of Bundesliga TV broadcast fees from the German Football Association FDBA, full 50 to 60 million euros. But if Strachey did not lead Freiburg to the Bundesliga, but Paderborn was lucky enough to be promoted to the Bundesliga, what would be the scene? It is estimated that Strachey, the club's veteran, will also be kicked out. Strachey could not imagine this situation. Beep. Soon, the stoppage time of the first half ended, and the referee blew the whistle to end the first half on time. Players from both sides returned to their respective locker rooms to rest and rehydrate, and Paderborn head coach Gerald followed the players into the locker room with a serious look on his face. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 089. Peterson breaks the goal again, leading 3-1, come to the locker room. Gerald took advantage of Paderborn's players' break to comfort them. Boys, don't be discouraged. After all, we are facing the favorite team Freiburg in this game. We only need to draw and score 1 point to successfully complete the task. Immediately afterwards, Gerald looked at Hunemeyer, who was sitting in the middle of the locker room. However, there was a big problem in the defense in the first half. In addition to keeping an eye on the opponent's Peterson, Hunemeyer should also organize the defense and try to let the midfielders stand up to form a large-scale sweep. Don't let Freiburg get a great opportunity in the front court. After finishing some adjustments to strategies in the second half, there was not much time left for the halftime break. Gerald took the lead to come among the players, stretched out his right hand, and floated in the air. Second half, come on. Even if Freiburg eats us, it will still break a few teeth. That's right. Hunemeyer was the first to stand up, echoing the head coach Gerald, while using his right hand put it on the back of his hand. Come on, come on. As the Paderborn players cheered each other on, they walked out of the locker room with their heads held high and returned to the field. Beep. After the players from both sides rearranged their formations, the referee blew the whistle to start the second half. Peterson once again delivered a mid-circle ball for Freiburg. The Paderborn players, whose morale was high, rushed forward actively and began to compete with Freiburg in the midfield, perhaps because they were Paderborn players. They had recovered their physical fitness and morale in the midfield. At the beginning of the second half, they pressed extremely fiercely. They frequently pushed forward and pressed hard, creating many good offensive threats for a while, which made Freiburg's entire defense miserable. However, the conversion rate of these attacks was somewhat low, and none of them broke Freiburg's goal. Feng tried a long-range shot from the outside of the penalty area, but because his ability in long-range shots was still relatively low, the long-range shot was directly confiscated by Freiburg's goalkeeper. The rapid transition between offense and defense allowed Freiburg to gradually seize several opportunities and develop a rapid counter-attack. In this case, the Freiburg players created more offensive threats than Paderborn, who came up to attack. Second half, 60 minutes after receiving a short pass from the midfielder, Griffo turned around decisively and moved forward. Paderborn's slightly weak defense was somewhat unable to keep up in this counter-attack with extremely fast transitions between offense and defense. Griffo's forward drive caused a lot of confusion in Paderborn's backcourt. Griffo passed the ball straight to Peterson. Peterson shot. The ball went in. Paderborn's defense was completely unable to withstand the attacks of Griffo and Peterson. Crazy bombing. In this kind of counter-attack, Paderborn seemed a little helpless. Less than 20 minutes into the second half, Freiburg once again widened the score and took a 2-goal lead. Peterson scored twice, that's great. It seems that after today's game, Peterson will sit firmly at the top of the scorer list. The young player Su Feng still cannot surpass him. Senior. It's better to be better than someone who is better than someone who is good at it. The commentator is a senior Freiburg fan, and he was extremely excited at this moment. Peterson performed well and scored twice, giving Freiburg a 3-1 lead. Faced with such pressure, the more immature Paderborn seemed unable to withstand the pressure and overtook Freiburg. In other words, Freiburg is almost ready to win this game at the Black Forest Stadium. Read more novels by visiting our website Night Novels. At this moment, the Black Forest Stadium has completely become a sea of celebration. The controversial number 1 spot on the scorer list has gradually come to light. Peterson has scored 2 goals in this game, while Su Feng has only scored 1. Can Paderborn, who was almost beaten by Freiburg, get a goal back at the last minute? The possibility is very low, although it is still possible. Freiburg fans also enjoy the time when Peterson surpasses Su Feng. Peterson, Peterson, Freiburg fans shouted in unison again, the hero of their team, but in a perfectly positioned middle viewing seat, Hardy, a Freiburg youth training player, sighed deeply. Well, it seems that Paderborn has no chance. Feng will lose this game, right? Alger, who was sitting next to him, also nodded melancholy. The wind keeps going, 7 games undefeated, it may be coming to an end. As members of Freiburg's U17, the two did not choose to sit in the north and south stands of Freiburg's die-hard fans because they came here to watch the game, actually because of their former teammate Su Feng. Although they are inextricably linked to the Freiburg first team, what does the performance of the first team have to do with them? And more than anything else, they hope that the good brothers who trained together can have a better future. For example, the first step is to become the top scorer in the Bundesliga too and win the Golden Boot. Therefore, in addition to caring about the result of the game, they also hope that Su Feng can score more goals in this game. But then again, Alger pondered for a while, then looked up at the frustrated Paderborn players in the field. Although Feng failed to rank first in the scorer list, you should have seen his strength, right? The gap with us is getting bigger and bigger. Do you still remember our original agreement? We can't fall too far behind Feng. We must also strive to become a first-team player and compete in the Bundesliga too as soon as possible. Otherwise, in a few seasons, Feng will go to the 5 major leagues, and we will never be able to catch up with him. After listening to Alger, if so, Hardy nodded with firm eyes. Intensify the intensity of training when we go back, but before that, let's watch the game. I really hope that Feng can once again lead the team to come back like the previous games. With the Black Forest, the celebrations on the field gradually died down, and the Freiburg players also ended their goal celebrations and stood on the field again, waiting for the game to restart. Su Feng stood in the middle circle, frowning, staring at Freiburg's goal at this moment. His eyes were shining with light, and the fighting spirit in his heart was stronger than ever. This game is not just a war between their 11 men. On the pitch behind them stood 4,000 die-hard fans who had followed Paderborn from afar. Moreover, tens of thousands of Paderborn fans were waiting in front of the TV. He was not the only one looking forward to this victory. There are more. He can't let down the fans who believe in him. Vidra, pay attention to my running position and pass the ball to me more. After being stunned for a few seconds, Su Feng suddenly turned around and told Vidra behind him, then slowly stepped forward and passed the ball to me. Sent back to him. The second half of the game starts again. Chapter 090. Su Feng's whimsical idea, tactical corner kick. Bang! In the second half, the 71st minute of the game, after Pulikovic had no hope of dribbling the ball from the wing, he passed a ball to Su Feng, who was standing at the top of the penalty area after receiving the ball, facing the entire retracted Freiburg defense. Su Feng once again tried a long shot. The quality of the ball was average, and the angle was not particularly good. After being blocked by the Freiburg defender in the penalty area, it bounced out of the baseline. Su Feng's brows couldn't help but knitted together again. He currently does not have the star skill to acquire long-range shooting, and his long-range shooting attributes are also somewhat low. Facing the Freiburg defense, whose strength was close to the Bundesliga level, he still failed to penetrate the long-range shot on this attempt. But luckily he got a corner kick for Paderborn. Ha ha ha, this kid from China is really funny. The long-range shooting level is not high and he frequently wastes the team's opportunities. Ha ha ha, if I were there, I would definitely choose to organize the offense slowly again. No. Wrong. It seems that all his goals have a lot of luck. In the spectator seats on the sidelines, Freiburg fans let out bursts of sarcastic laughter. They had seen Su Feng's several long-range shots, but none of them scored. They couldn't help but feel that this kid's last volley that shocked the audience was completely blind. Therefore, they are in a relaxed mood and believe that Freiburg has a chance to win. However, on the field, the Paderborn players did not feel that Feng was wasting the opportunity. Instead, they cast encouraging glances at him. Only they know how difficult it is for Freiburg's retracted defense on the field. What's wrong with trying a long shot on this situation? Feng waved his hand and glanced towards the court with some dissatisfaction. At this time, he saw Vidra slowly walking towards the corner kick area, and an idea came to his mind. If you can't shoot from a long distance, how about a volley? Thinking of this, he sprinted before Vidra left the penalty area and stood on the edge of the penalty area waiting for Vidra. When Vidra passed by him, Feng pretended to squat down and stretch his legs and whispered, "Vidra, pay attention to where I am later and lift the ball outside the penalty area." Vidra was stunned for a moment. Isn't it much more difficult to hang outside the penalty area than to compete for a header in the penalty area? But then he thought about Feng's superb volley ability. This must be believed. Beep. Soon, after the players from both sides were in position, the referee blew the whistle for a corner kick. Feng stood outside the penalty area, seemingly trying to compete for the second penalty kick. Freiburg's defensive players were in a daze when they saw this scene. He is a tall center player. If he doesn't fight for headers in the penalty area, why does he go to the outside to grab 2 penalty kicks? Is it so easy to grab the second penalty? Moreover, wouldn't it be a waste of opportunity to seize his long-range shooting skills? Bang! After a brief adjustment, Vidra took a corner kick. There was chaos in the penalty area in the middle, with players from both sides mingling, some preparing for a header, and some preparing for man-to-man defense. In the fierce confrontation, the players on both sides gradually became more aggressive, with endless pushing and pulling. But a few seconds later, the Freiburg players noticed something in their eyes as they looked up. Read more novels by visiting our website Night Novels. Why didn't this ball come towards the penalty area? Made a mistake. All the Freiburg players breathed a sigh of relief, and then sprinted outside the penalty area, preparing to snatch a little ball. As long as the football is outside the penalty area, the danger is not that great. Moreover, it was a corner kick outside the penalty area. As long as it was simply interfered with, it would be difficult to complete the shot. What really worries them is that in the chaotic penalty area in the Bundesliga too, I don't know who touched it and the ball went in, which is really uncomfortable. However, wait until the football landing point becomes clearer. The Freiburg players looked at each other for a moment, then started to panic. Feng, the young player wearing Paderborn's number 23 jersey, was already standing near the landing point of the football, ready to go. Is he going to take a long shot? No, he's going to volley. Regardless of whether they believe the goal could be scored or not, the Freiburg players went crazy and rushed towards the spot where the football landed, preparing to block the next shot. The next moment, Feng had stretched his body, looked firmly at the Freiburg goal, raised his right foot and volleyed on the football. Bang! A crisp sound sounded, and the football changed its trajectory and flew towards the goal. With the star skills of Robin van Persie's volley, there is no doubt that Feng's volley is of extremely high quality. He hit the ball in the right position, and the football was pressed very well, drawing a weird and extremely fast arc at a height of less than half a meter. Football is like an erupting eagle, flying freely in the penalty area, passing through the bodies of the Freiburg defenders. He went straight to the Freiburg goal without any obstruction. The Freiburg goalkeeper was startled. When the football emerged from the crowd, it had already arrived in front of him. He reacted to this distance, but so what? Can you make any high-quality saves? Obviously not. He jumped hard in the direction of the football and threw himself down, but his hands still didn't touch the football. The football blasted into the goal from under his arm, with huge attack power, smashing a convex mark into the net. Paderborn. More than 4,000 Paderborn expeditionary troops who came to the away game jumped up from their seats excitedly, waving their hands excitedly in celebration. The team scored this goal, the ball went in. Paderborn finally broke through Freiburg's impregnable defense in the second half and scored this wonderful goal. It's Feng again, another young hero from Paderborn. This is definitely a hearty goal, a goal that can make people excited. The Paderborn players have not given up yet and are still working hard to reverse the situation on the field. On the court, Feng, who scored the goal, also seemed a little excited after trying many long-range shots in the second half. He actually used his volley to help the team score a goal again. This goal is really exaggerated, and it seems that he knows a new way to score goals. However, this was also because the Freiburg defensive players were careless and did not focus on Feng, who entered the outside at the first moment of the corner kick. The excited Feng raised his hands high and ran towards the stands where the Paderborn fans were. wanting to share the joy of his goal with the fans and friends who supported him. Vidra, who was immersed in the joy of scoring a goal, was stunned for a moment, then sprinted to Su Feng's side, jumped directly on him, and performed a somewhat intimate celebration. Feng, that's great. You deserve the trust of everyone in Paderborn. You are the savior of our team. Vidra wrapped his arms around Su Feng's neck, his voice was trembling, and he spoke frankly about what was in his heart. Chapter 091. Get a goal back. In the final stage of stoppage time, on the coaching bench on the sidelines, Freiburg coach Strachey showed a trace of bitterness on his face. Although Paderborn has not scored as many goals as Freiburg, they can score one goal against Freiburg's impregnable defense, but can't they score the second? Moreover, this goal is still a bit shocking. Strachey did not expect that Paderborn could break the situation in this way. This made him feel a little bad again. Franz, you haven't won the game yet. Please use your damn brain. Don't do such a stupid thing, okay? Strachey exhaled slowly, chest. He was slightly upset with anger, and then quickly walked to the sidelines and scolded Freiburg's midfielder. You have only one task on the field, and that is to protect Paderborn's number 23 center from death. Theater Freiburg assistant coaches stood behind stretch one by one, smiling bitterly. No one moved. There are still nearly 20 minutes until the end of the game. At this embarrassing time point, Paderborn actually recovered a goal. At this time, Freiburg was only leading by one goal, which made everyone feel uneasy. And on the side of the Freiburg coaching bench, I just had a vague feeling in my heart that Su Feng will definitely score. Paderborn head coach Gerald showed a touch of pride on his face. Paderborn is indeed still lagging behind, but in every game, there is always a greater gain than winning the game, and Gerald saw a very united team on the field today. They faced Freiburg's quick counter-attack and were able to withstand pressure and were full of resilience in a desperate situation. He did not give up resistance. Moreover, Su Feng can also become the spiritual core of the entire team, standing up in desperate situations and not becoming an invisible person when he runs into a strong team. It can be said that Gerald is becoming more and more fond of the player Su Feng. After the celebration, Gerald started directing from the sidelines again. Stabilize the situation, stand your ground, and don't get out of position easily. Hold on, the game will end in more than 20 minutes, and we still have hope. There is no doubt that Su Feng's goal, the ball, the spiritual inspiration for the Paderborn players, cannot be described in words. He gave other Paderborn players a glimmer of hope in completing their duties as a head coach. Next, Paderborn players played better and better, playing back and forth with Freiburg without falling into any disadvantage, but neither side took the lead in scoring the goal that determined the direction of the game. At the last moment of the game, time passed quickly, and it came to the 87th minute. There are only 3 minutes left before the end of regular time. Even if you add the stoppage time in the second half, it won't be too long on the court. Not only Paderborn's players were a little anxious, but even Freiburg's Peterson was a little impatient. Nothing else in this game. He and Paderborn's Su Feng both scored 2 goals. If the final outcome of the game is fixed at 3-2, he and Su Feng will still be the top scorers in the Bundesliga too. Tied for first place in this game, both of them scored twice, but Freiburg will win this game. This may bring some unnecessary criticism to Peterson. Read more novels by visiting our website Night Novels. Freiburg has defeated Paderborn, but Peterson hasn't topped the scorer list yet. Peterson was able to win the Bundesliga Golden Boot award only because he was in Freiburg. It would be a bit ugly to say this. Therefore, Peterson really wants to open up the score again in the last minute, complete a hat trick, and become the top scorer in the Bundesliga second division. Here, in Paderborn's front court, Peterson received a pass from midfield and advanced with a ball. At the same time, the Freiburg wingers on both wings jumped in at high speed, raising their hands to signal for the ball. However, Peterson ignored them. After dribbling the ball into the penalty area, he fired a long shot as if no one was watching. Bang! This shot was powerful and heavy, with speed and power, but the angle was not chosen very well. It missed Paderborn's right goal frame and flew directly out of the field, giving them a goal kick. After seeing the ball being knocked away, Peterson showed a trace of unwillingness on his face, but now was not the time to think about it. He immediately turned around and ran towards his own half. His attempt was a bit greedy for credit, so that he could score this goal and stabilize his ranking on the Bundesliga 2 scorer list. This ball might have been better if it had been played from both sides. Now, after being screwed by Peterson, he must quickly return to defense to prevent Paderborn from scoring at the last moment. Then Bishop Strachey will definitely be furious and scold him. As for the Freiburg winger, he felt a little unhappy when he saw Peterson shoot the ball directly and missed it, but there is no way. Peterson is the big brother of the team, Any should be provided, for they could only turn around and retreat towards their own half. Next, the Paderborn goalkeeper took a goal kick and passed the ball to the defender. In this case, there is not much time, and there may only be a few last opportunities to organize an attack. Gerald has always chosen to be more conservative in this regard, and will not easily let the goalkeeper take a big shot to find players in the front court unless absolutely necessary. Facing Freiburg's retracted defense, Paderborn's ball-carrying players repeatedly passed and kicked in the midfield, waiting for opportunities. Freiburg must win. Must win. In the spectator stands, the Freiburg fans also stood up at this time and shouted in unison, as if to cheer for the Paderborn players on the field. Apply invisible pressure. At this time, the fourth official on the sidelines raised the substitution card, signaling 3 minutes of stoppage time for the second half. The injury time is not stoppage time and there are only 2 minutes left. This may be Paderborn's last chance to attack. Harris passes the ball. Look at Paderborn's last attack. On the rostrum, the commentator was concentrating on the Paderborn players working hard on the field, and was explaining quickly in Vietnamese. If Paderborn misses this last offensive opportunity, the result of this game will be settled. Stog, Kosa, Vidra, do you want to try a long shot? As the commentator finished speaking, Vidra, who was holding the ball at the top of the penalty area, kicked the ball in the middle fly. Everyone in the Black Forest Stadium followed the football as it lifted off the ground. This curved ball was not very fast nor very powerful. When he lifted off the ground, everyone understood that he did not choose to shoot directly. Vidra chose to find his teammates to follow up. Chapter 092. Undefeated in 7 rounds. Gerald's ambition. The football lifted off the ground, passed over the heads of several Freiburg players, and successfully landed at the back of the penalty area. Nearby, Feng had been waiting for a long time. Vidra dared to pass the ball because he was aiming at Feng. He was eager to help Paderborn draw with Freiburg, and he was also eager to get more assists. He looked back to judge. When the football landed, Feng sprinted quickly, showing the momentum that he was bound to win. In the spectator stands, countless Freiburg fans held their heads in their arms, with a bit of disbelief in their eyes. They even dared not face it and close their eyes. Paderborn fans also stood up from their seats, raised their hands in the air, cheered for the team, and looked forward to Feng scoring the goal. Feng did not disappoint everyone. His height itself is outstanding among many forwards, and now, with a blessing of Van Persie's volleying skills, his judgment of the ball's placement and height has almost surpassed that of most forwards in the 5 major leagues. He jumped high and hit the goal with a powerful header, slamming the football into the goal in front of him. The distance was too close, and the Freiburg goalkeeper took the initiative and rushed towards Feng, and the two of them collided directly. However, this still did not stop the football. The football slammed to the ground and bounced hard into the net. Beep. The referee on duty also blew the whistle to confirm that the goal was valid regardless of the pain from his fall. Feng stood up and rushed towards the stands where the away team's fans were standing with an excited smile on his face. He was so excited that he took off his jersey and held it high in front of his chest, showing it off to every Paderborn fan who came to the away game. Although this was a celebration of winning a card, Feng couldn't care less about it now. Paderborn! Paderborn! Paderborn fans from afar also shouted almost crazy, and many middle-aged uncles also. He took off the Paderborn jersey he was wearing, held it in his hand and shook it excitedly. Everyone had excited smiles on their faces. Paderborn drew with Freiburg at the Black Forest Stadium, 3-3 tie, drawn with the favorites of Bundesliga 2. After the excited Paderborn players celebrated on the field, the game quickly restarted. But rather than restarting the game, it is better for the referee to go through another process and blow the whistle to end the game. At this time, the stoppage time has come to the last minute. Freiburg players all looked frustrated and a little incredible. Obviously, they could not use the last minute to kill Paderborn. This is tantamount to wishful thinking. In the spectator seats, the Freiburg fans, who had been showing off their power throughout the second half, stopped making any sound. Their stand area was as silent as death. Beep. 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 Soon after, Freiburg midfielder kicked a long pass. The referee blew the whistle to end the game. This game that affected more than 24,000 fans at the scene finally came to an end. Read more novels by visiting our website Night Novels. The final whistle seemed to bring the frantic Freiburg fans back to reality. We were even beaten to a draw against a team like Paderborn. How did Strachey lead the team? I really can't stand it anymore. It's obvious that the Chinese youngster on loan has a very strong. He has the ability to score goals, but what is Strachey doing? Why not bring him to the first team? Yes, if this kind of player is well cultivated, he will definitely become a star player in the future. I am really speechless. I hope that next season, after Freiburg is promoted to the Bundesliga, the player who was loaned to Paderborn will return as soon as possible." After the Freiburg fans finished complaining, their faces were filled with laughter. He stood up from his seat angrily and prepared to leave the Black Forest Stadium. Although this is Freiburg's home court, Freiburg did not win anything in this game. The more cheers in the stadium belonged to Paderborn after all. The two teams have different price configurations, and the fans' expectations for this game are also different. Freiburg fans will not just stay in the stadium to celebrate the team's draw on the coaching bench on the sidelines. Freiburg coach Stretch stood there silently with a dark face and said no more. The phone in his pocket rang, but he ignored it and just listened quietly to the vents of the fans in the stadium. He was helpless. As the favorite to win the championship this season, Freiburg was actually beaten by the Paderborn team by 2 points in the second half. Moreover, was it the young player who tied Freiburg with his own hands, or was it the young player who was loaned out by Freiburg? Freiburg fans who may not know the truth about the loan contract will only curse him a few times and ask him to promote Feng to the first team next season. He may have thought so too, but it was almost impossible to achieve. The signing of the right of first refusal is destined to show that Feng has no chance with Freiburg. If Freiburg fans knew the truth, he would accept their ruthless ridicule and even more explicit abuse. There was a bit of bitterness and helplessness on Strachey's face. He shook his head, and he deeply imprinted Feng's back in his mind, and returned directly without looking back. In the locker room after a while, he will also face an interview with reporters that would be the thing that made him even more anxious. On the field, the faces of the Paderborn players showed joyful smiles. They completed the plan made by the head coach at the Black Forest Stadium and tied Freiburg. Paderborn fans were also extremely excited. With less than 4,000 people, the entire stadium was filled with their shouts. Under this circumstance, Paderborn players held a brief celebration ceremony with the fans on the court, and then returned to the locker room with head coach Gerald in the locker room. Gerald was in a very happy mood. This was Paderborn's 7th unbeaten game. If this situation continues, it seems possible to return to the Bundesliga. On the way back to the bus, Gerald met a reporter for an interview. He also praised Feng frankly in front of the reporter. At the same time, it also shows Paderborn's goal in the next league, which is to hit the Bundesliga. At the same time, in the press conference room of the Black Forest Stadium, Freiburg head coach Stretch is also being interviewed by the media. Chapter 093. Number 1 Shooter? Understand the attention of the net. Mr. Strachey, may I ask what you think about Paderborn's upset victory over Freiburg today? What are your plans for Freiburg's future results? Mr. Strachey, may I ask you? What do you think is the main reason why Freiburg was tied with Paderborn today? Is it because of the young player Feng who was loaned to Paderborn by Freiburg? Did I expect today's result? Paderborn's number 23 player Feng successfully scored in this game and may become the top scorer in the Bundesliga this season. What do you think of the Freiburg loan player achieving such brilliant results? Black Forest Stadium, Freiburg press conference room. Head coach Strachey sat in the middle of the press room with his face slung over his shoulder, accepting an overwhelming number of questions from reporters. Some of these questions start from the Freiburg team, but most of the focus falls on Feng. After all, he is the target of media attention now, and only by digging out some information about him from Strachey can he gain news attention. After hearing this, Strachey suppressed the anger in his heart and stared at the reporters who asked those sensitive questions with wide eyes, as if he wanted to drive them out of the press room. But when those reporters saw Strachey like this, they became even more passionate about their work. Slowly exhaled a breath, Strachey felt a little headache, but it was not his time to rest yet. He had to answer these questions. Today Freiburg failed to win this game. There is indeed a big factor because of the young player Feng who is on loan to Paderborn. I have to admit that Feng is an excellent player. Paderborn's growth rate is beyond my imagination, but football is a team sport, and Freiburg's current lineup has been very successful and has been ranked first in the Bundesliga standings for many rounds. I firmly believe that this season, we will win the Bundesliga championship and return to the Bundesliga. Strachey answered most reporters' questions pertinently. He may have lost Feng now, so he must stabilize the Freiburg fans and set the goal for the team to win the Bundesliga championship this season and then rush to the Bundesliga second division. If there are problems at both ends and trigger fierce online public opinion, then what awaits Strachey will definitely be kicked out by the Freiburg senior management. Therefore, before everyone knew that Feng was likely to be bought out by Paderborn, He wanted to focus online public opinion on whether Freiburg could win the Bundesliga championship. Despite this, some reporters were reluctant to let Strachey go, and they continued to ask questions. Then if Freiburg advances to the Bundesliga next season, will Feng appear in the starting lineup? Mr. Stretch, what do you think about a player as good as Feng in the future? After hearing these questions, Strachey didn't know how many times he had greeted their families. In his heart there is simply no limit. Sorry, this is something that Freiburg needs to consider in the future. Strachey looked at the reporters who just asked the question with dark eyes, and replied in an unhappy tone, "This season, the only thing I want to care about is, can Freiburg successfully win the championship?" After saying these words, he stood up, left a word, and walked towards the door of the press room. Today's interview ends here. On the way back to the Paderborn training center on the Paderborn bus in German football news, a young Chinese player once again occupied the top spot. Paderborn draws with Freiburg. The young Chinese player wears a hat and aims at the German second division championship. After 14 years, the young Chinese player once again topped the scorer list. Read more novels by visiting our website Night Novels. The head coach of Freiburg praised the young player on loan after the game. Feng surpassed all the generals in the German second division and topped the scorer list. For a time, the name of Chinese young player Feng once again resounded throughout the German football world. The neutral fans who originally stood on Freiburg Peterson's side gradually switched sides to Paderborn Feng's side. This makes it difficult for Peterson fans to occupy a place in the comment area. The Paderborn fans were once again immersed in their own celebration. Many fans spontaneously formed teams and came to the door of Paderborn's training center, waiting for their heroes to return. At the same time, they also hoped to meet their hero Feng at the door, and then get an autographed photo or jersey, which will be their bragging rights for many months to come. Meanwhile, far to the east in the data analysis room of the Kinkyo.net building, a staff member responsible for statistics of the Deutsche League was stunned in his seat. On the computer screen in front of him, the English words Feng suddenly appeared at the top of the Bundesliga 2 scorer list. Feng, this seems to be a player from our country, top scorer in Bundesliga 2. The statistician looked shocked, as if he couldn't believe what he was seeing in this era. Although European football is popular all over China, the secondary leagues of the 5 major leagues have not received widespread attention from the major media. After all, fans are more willing to watch the 5 major leagues that are more entertaining. As for the secondary leagues, there are no young Chinese players studying there to watch other countries and see what talented players emerge. Isn't that just asking for boredom? There are only a handful of websites like zhikiu.com that collect statistics on the Bundesliga 2, however, they will not waste too much time paying attention to the Bundesliga 2 games. At most, they will record several rankings such as the scorer list and the assist list. Only today, a player who seems to be Chinese has topped the German second division scorer list and attracted the attention of the staff. Holy shit. Come and help me take a look. The data clerk was in a daze and seemed to be undecided. He quickly called his colleagues around him to come over and take a look. Is this player named Feng the name of our country? He is a player from Paderborn, and he is currently the top scorer. The staff in charge of other events next to him rolled his eyes at him. Then he began to ridicule in disbelief, complaining that he was making a fuss. How could it be a Chinese player? Which player who studied abroad did we not pay attention to? Moreover, to rank first in the scorer list in the German second division, there is a high probability that he is a Chinese player. Right, yes, if this is a player sent by our Chinese club to study abroad, it has been blown up by the major media a long time ago. Are you still waiting for you to find out? The data clerk ignored what his colleagues said and turned to look up other information about Feng. Information, you all guessed wrong. From the commentary of the commentator in front, I can clearly see that this player is of Chinese nationality. After saying this, he suddenly stood up from his seat and picked up the table laptop and rushed to the general manager's office. He has no time to argue with his colleagues here. If it is really a young player from China, how much shock will this news bring to the domestic football world? Chapter 094. Evergrande takes action. There is an uproar in Chinese football. Not long after, in the office of the general manager of Tokyo.com, a middle-aged man opened his eyes wide and spoke in disbelief. Are you sure this is a player from our country? The data clerk stood in front of the desk, put the laptop in front of him, and showed it to him. Yes, the German commentator will not be wrong. This player is from our country. The middle-aged man frowned and cast his eyes on the laptop screen. Even if he doesn't understand German, after doing statistics for so many years, he can still recognize the Chinese characters in German at a glance. This shouldn't be the case. If this kid is from China, we can't possibly know nothing about it. Moreover, when major clubs send players to Europe, they will announce it. I have never heard of one. The boy named Feng, no matter how he thought about it, he felt that something seemed unreasonable, and he couldn't help but raise a question. Could it be that the Bundesliga league made a mistake? This kid is actually a Chinese. The data clerk shook his head and denied it with certainty. The probability of this happening is very low. The commentator can get the player's name wrong, but you will never mistake the nationality of a player. Then go to the official website of the German football team and find out for me what is going on with this player. Following the general manager's order, the data clerk immediately started taking action, using his laptop to search for information online. About 5 minutes later he shook his head in disbelief and reported to the general manager, "It's simply unbelievable. This player went to Europe by himself and joined the local German youth training. He has nothing to do with our country's football club. Fuck, understand the ball.com." The general manager was so shocked that he no longer cared about his own image. After swearing, he stood up directly. "If you put it like that, this player is completely a blank slate in China. It's all about money. Imagine that a Chinese player appeared out of thin air in the German second division league and became the top scorer. Number 1 on the list. How much traffic will such news get if it spreads in China? By then, it is estimated that millions of fans will watch Bundesliga 2 games one after another. How popular will the broadcast of Bundesliga 2 be? The general manager of Kinkyu.com couldn't imagine. After asking the data clerk who discovered the news to leave first, he immediately held a meeting to announce the news, and immediately organized the company's media department to prepare for the news. Expand the report at the same time. At the first moment, the business flew to Germany to discuss the cost of the broadcast rights of the German second league as for when the news will be released. You still need to wait for a while, because at the first moment when the news about Feng is announced, the website will announce that it will start broadcasting the Bundesliga 2 games. It can be said that after this operation, Kinkyu.com will make a lot of money. That night after handling all this, Li Zhi, the general manager of Kinkyu.com, lay on the sofa and made the last call before leaving. "Get off work, Manager Li. Why did you remember to call me?" After a long time, after the call was connected, a rich middle-aged male voice came. "Old Wu. It's because of the good relationship between us that I told you this news in advance. You should hurry up and prepare for action." The person who answered the phone was named Wu Kangin, who is currently the deputy director of Evergrande Football Club and is responsible for youth training players study abroad and plan their affairs. "What news makes you so excited? Ha ha ha. Read more novels by visiting our website Night Novels." After Li Zhi chuckled a few times, he stopped beating around the bush and got to the point. "Our company has discovered a Chinese player in the Bundesliga 2. He's from the German youth training and is now on loan to Paderborn from Freiburg. In 8 rounds, a total of 10 goals were scored. He scored 13 goals, temporarily ranking first in the Bundesliga 2 scorer list." What? After listening to Li Zhi's words, Wu Kangin almost yelled, "Why is such a player only discovered now? Maybe it's Bundesliga 2. The league doesn't get much attention in China. However, now is not the time to care about this. While other clubs don't know the news yet, you Evergrande are preparing to see if you can poach this player from Freiburg. Thank you so much, Brother Li. After I arrange this matter, I will treat you to dinner." Wu Kangin thanked him and hung up the phone without saying a few words. He now wants to report this matter to the club's senior management, and then quickly rush to Germany to finalize the relevant contract. In this kind of thing, the only way to make more money is to be faster than others. As for whether he can bring Feng back to Evergrande from Freiburg, it is not something Wu Kangin has to consider at all. China is now in the era of genuine football. Evergrande has a lot of money. He does not believe that anyone will refuse a high transfer fee and maximum salary. If there is, then doubling this number will definitely do the trick. Because of this matter, it is impossible for Evergrande to lose money. A few days later, Zhikiu.com won the broadcasting rights of the Bundesliga 2 without any suspense. The entire media department of Kinkyu.com was also ready, and the prepared news was released on the internet that afternoon. After 14 years, the young Chinese player is waiting for the top scorer list in the Bundesliga 2. Genius player. Feng scored 13 goals in 8 rounds of the German second league, lead Paderborn to the championship. Genius player. The hope of Chinese football. Knowing Ballnet officially starting to broadcast the German second division league from the selected date, paying full attention to the Chinese teenager Feng's journey to win the championship. Once these news were released, they immediately caused a shocking wave in the country. Who is Feng? Taking advantage of the trend to occupy the top of the hot search list, immediately afterwards, titles such as Chinese football savior, Chinese genius player, top scorer, etc. also became the words used by fans to praise Feng in the comment area. Fans who had not seen a Chinese player who could perform in European competitions for many years were completely shocked by the news about Feng, not to mention Sun Jiahe, Xiao Jiai, Dong Fengzhou, those Chinese players who achieved good results in Europe in the early years. In the past 5 years, have any Chinese players performed well in the European leagues? Absolutely not. At the age of 17, he topped the scorer list in the Bundesliga too, and became the absolute core of the team. This kind of achievement is almost unprecedented. It is conceivable how much impact such news will have on domestic fans after it is released. Countless comments appeared on the news. In my lifetime, I can finally see the rise of Chinese football. Really? 17 years old, 13 goals in 8 rounds, the top scorer in the German second division. I see the hope of Chinese football. This is just his performance at the age of 17. How terrifying will his strength be when he grows up? For a few years, I already feel that our country will definitely qualify for the 2018 World Cup in Russia. Chapter 095. Paderborn's competitive pressure, the last resort, just when domestic news was fermenting. In the Evergrande Football Club's administrative building, in the chairman's office, discussions have begun on going to Freiburg to purchase Feng. Feng, a player who can achieve such outstanding results in the Bundesliga too, will definitely perform well after joining Evergrande in the future. Wu Kangin sent the compiled data report to everyone. Did not forget to explain their expectations for Feng in the future. Hearing this, a handsome middle-aged Western man sitting on the sofa frowned. Director Wu, you don't seem to have the right to interfere with the first-team roster, right? I'm not familiar with this player at all. Besides, the team already has Allen and Alkson on the front line, and we don't need to spend any more money to buy them. He is a forward player. Wu Kangin looked a little ugly. The person who refuted him just now was Cannavaro, the head coach of Evergrande's first team, who has great power in the club. Mr. Cannavaro, the introduction of Feng is a unanimous decision of the club's top management. It doesn't matter if you are not familiar with it. I will send you all the information about this player after the meeting. I believe you will be satisfied after reading it. The chairman of Evergrande Football Club, who was sitting in the main seat, looked at Cannavaro with a serious face, and seemed to be solemnly announcing that the club's introduction plan would not change. You don't know what it means for a Chinese player to be able to return to play in the Chinese Super League. I hope you won't say any more words of rejection. Cannavaro took a deep breath, with a little anger on his face. However, as the head coach of the team, it is obviously not a very correct choice to have differences with the club's senior management. Okay, but as I said before, if this player's strength is not up to my approval, even if he joins the team, he will not get the main position. The chairman of Evergrande nodded, which can be regarded as concessions were made. It doesn't matter. We'll talk about these things after Feng joins the team. After saying that, he looked at Wu Kangin, who was sitting aside. Old Wu, please go to Germany next week. Try your best to watch Feng's game and record a video of the whole game for Mr. Cannavaro. At the same time, after the game, go to Freiburg to discuss it. Matters related to the purchase of players. Okay, Chairman, I'm going to set off immediately and make sure to complete the task. Wu Kangin agreed. As long as Feng is successfully brought back to the club, he will be the biggest contributor to this recruitment of players and will be indispensable. At the same time, I can go to Germany for a bit of fun at public expense, which is a great job. The site returns again to the Paderborn training center this day after the team's 8-game unbeaten run. Head coach Gerald was in a very happy mood after finishing the simple work in the office. I played music in the office, brewed a cup of coffee, and enjoyed my leisure time soon after. Assistant coach Bruns rushed into the office in a hurry. Head, there's some bad news. Seeing Bruns' nervous expression, a bad omen suddenly came to Gerald's mind. What bad thing happened? Could it be that Feng was injured? That's not the case. Bruns shook his head and denied Gerald's guess, which made Gerald tense up. The state dissipated instantly. Read more novels by visiting our website Night Novels. After all, this was the worst news he could think of. What's that? Gerald took a sip of the coffee on the table and asked unhurriedly. Nowadays, many teams have begun to contact Feng, and many of them are teams in the 5 major leagues. They have given Feng a good olive branch. Now we have to quickly determine Feng's thoughts, fulfill the buyout clause as soon as possible and buy him to Paderborn. This news was what Gerald expected. Feng is now temporarily ranked first in the German Bundesliga two-scorer list, and he is only 17 years old. He is indeed a hot commodity. As long as other teams are not stupid, they will try their best to poach Feng. We really need to complete the buyout of the contract earlier. After thinking for a while, Gerald seemed to be unable to think of any good ideas and tentatively asked Bruns. However, compared to the giant teams in the 5 major leagues, Paderborn's competitiveness is very weak. Do you have any good ways to stay ahead? Well, suddenly, the office fell into silence. Bruns didn't know any good way to attract Feng to stay. However, after a while, Bruns seemed to have an idea and thought of a good idea. After all, Feng officially entered the professional league from Paderborn. We can play emotional cards with him and make him love this team from the bottom of his heart. And, doesn't he like to go to nightclubs very much? Big the probability is that he doesn't have a girlfriend yet. See if you can introduce him to a girlfriend, let him keep his heart in Paderborn, and preferably start a family in Paderborn. No. After hearing Bruns' proposal, Gerald was visibly speechless. This plan is simply ridiculous. When have you ever seen a head coach introduce a girlfriend to a player? If this spreads out, won't others make them laugh out loud? Bruns, don't you think your idea is ridiculous? Has a head coach introduced a girlfriend to a player? What's the situation now? Bruns immediately interrupted Gerald. He retorted, extraordinary situations require extraordinary measures. This is the best way I can think of. Our team is just a small-town football club at best. How much annual salary can we offer Feng? Compared with the wealthy teams, it is not worth mentioning at all. In this case, only this method can be used to win. However, the method I mentioned is because Feng does not want to stay in Padbo. It is a last resort that needs to be used after a favor. If you can move him with words, of course there is no need for this. Gerald fell into thinking. In fact, what Bruns said did not make much sense. Reason if Paderborn, who has no competitiveness, wants to retain Feng, he must start with love, and the best way is to introduce him to a girlfriend, or even get married and have children. But is this really possible? Gerald didn't know, but this was indeed a feasible solution. Gerald lay weakly on the backrest and began to think about the probability of success of this method. After a while, he scratched his head and made up his mind. I will consider your proposal, but before that, you first ask Feng to come to my office. I asked him last time if he wanted to stay in Paderborn. I will ask him first. What do you think now? After hearing Gerald considering his proposal, Bruns nodded, stood up and left the office, preparing to call Feng over afterwards. Gerald thoughtfully picked up the phone from the table, opened the photo album, and began to look for unmarried beauties who might impress Feng. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 096. Beauty Trap. The word sex has a knife on its head. After a while, assistant coach Bruns called Feng, who was training seriously, into the head coach's office. After Feng sat across from the office, he went to deal with other matters and closed the office door. Feng, drink a glass of water. Gerald poured a glass of water for Feng with a cheerful look on his face, and then sat down opposite him. This is the first time Feng has come to Gerald's office, but now, he has become the absolute core of Paderborn. When he sits here again, his mood is completely different. Gerald, I don't know why you called me to the office today. Feng took a sip of water and asked the doubts in his heart. Gerald chuckled, spread his hands and replied, what can happen? The team is in such a hot state right now, I don't need to worry too much at all. I called you here today, I just want to have a casual chat with you. Feng nodded. He didn't know what kind of medicine Gerald was selling in the gourd, so he didn't speak rashly and waited for him to ask again. How have you been living in Paderborn recently? I heard that you and the other team members have been living in an apartment not far from the training base. Are you still used to living there? Gerald's tone was very gentle, as if it was like talking to an old friend of mine for many years. I'm pretty used to living here. Many of my teammates live there. It's pretty good that we come to the club together every day, Feng said without hesitation. Then it seems that the relationship between you and the players is very harmonious. Gerald, you didn't call me here just to chat with me, right? It's still training time. These are completely fine. Let's talk after the training is over. Listening to Gerald's greetings, Su Feng knew that things would definitely not be that simple. Today is not a rest day. Gerald does not need to talk to himself about life matters. Moreover, these tasks are more what assistant coach Bruns should do, and Gerald saw that Su Feng was keenly aware of it and no longer deliberately went around in circles. Haha, in addition to asking you these questions today, of course I also have some other things to do. You are now a big hero in Paderborn. All the fans hope to meet you and take photos and sign autographs with you. The people around me are no exception. As he spoke, Gerald took out his mobile phone, opened it and put it in front of Su Feng. One of my nieces admires you very much and has a pretty good relationship with me. She was wondering if I could ask you out for a meal. As an uncle, I can't refuse, so I can only ask. Bulen's called you to the office to ask about your wishes. After all, we can't talk about this kind of thing on the training ground. Su Feng blinked and looked at Gerald's cell phone on the table. The photo album is open on the phone, and there are photos of a typical German beauty. The beauty is tall, wearing a long-sleeved off-white sweater. Her long hair is as delicate and soft as waves. Her deep eyes are staring into the distance. Paired with her tall nose, she has an indescribable charm. People's eyes light up. Read more novels by visiting our website Night Novels, Mr. Gerald, why are you showing me the photos? Isn't it just a simple meal with the fans? How come it's so formal? It's like a blind date. Su Feng raised his eyebrows and looked at him suspiciously. To Gerald, the beauty in the photo was indeed very pure, which made him feel a little excited. However, now he doesn't really want to think about these things. He still wants to focus on football. What, isn't it beautiful? If you like it, I can help you match her up. Gerald looked at Su Feng with some success, his face filled with the joy of success. His niece is a model who ranks among the best in Paderborn in terms of figure and appearance, and she is also a Paderborn fan. With such a beauty, Gerald was still confident that he could win over Su Feng. It is indeed very beautiful, but I am still so young and have no ideas in this regard for the time being. If you want to help your niece find a boyfriend, I think you can consider prejudice. Su Feng waved his hand and a contraled. He checked the expression on his face, not wanting Gerald to see his heartbeat. Every man loves beautiful women. This is an eternal truth, and Su Feng loves her too, but the word sex has a knife on its head. Su Feng's idea is still very simple. At least he should wait until he is firmly in the starting lineup in the 5 major leagues and has the possibility of entering the Champions League before considering these things. Otherwise, after dating a girlfriend, he will definitely need to spend a lot of time with her. In this case, he will not be able to complete his training every day and then do his own additional training. Moreover, he doesn't like having other people introduce his girlfriend. It always feels weird. That guy Plikovich, do you still need me to introduce him? Besides, my niece admires you, the great hero of Paderborn. A trace of embarrassment appeared on Gerald's face, and at the same time he repeatedly emphasized that his niece admired Su Feng, the great hero of Paderborn. Su Feng, a second-generation man, understood what Gerald meant when he heard what he said. He wants to use a honey trap to keep himself in Paderborn, or in other words, let himself join Paderborn after the next transfer window opens. If other fledgling young players were fooled by this, they would probably agree to Gerald's proposal. He met his niece, developed a relationship between boyfriend and girlfriend, got married and started a family in Paderborn, and was able to secure a starting position in Paderborn, and also have the opportunity to play in the Bundesliga in the future. It seemed like a very good life, but this was not what Su Feng wanted. Otherwise, just because he traveled through time and brought the memories of his previous life with him, he could make a lot of money in this world and live a rich life. But compared to these, he is more like fulfilling his dream and standing at the top of football. Paderborn may be a good springboard now, but it is definitely not the best choice for the Champions League. If you want to win the Champions League, you still need to join one of the giants in Europe. Mr. Gerald, I appreciate your kindness. I just don't want to think about these things for the time being. However, you can rest assured that what I promised you will be completed. This season, I will definitely do my best. I will try my best to help Paderborn win the Bundesliga title. If I regret not being able to win the championship, I also believe that Paderborn will definitely enter the Bundesliga next season. Chapter 097. Negotiated. The 11th round of Bundesliga 2 is coming. Gerald looked at Su Feng's firm eyes and felt slightly. He could clearly understand what kind of person Su Feng was. This kind of person, once he makes a promise, will do his best to fulfill it and will not break his promise easily. At the same time, I also have my own ambition in my heart, and I will be down to earth, keep working hard, realize my dreams, and stand at the top of the football world. This also made Gerald appreciate Su Feng's character even more. Paderborn is the first team Su Feng has played for in his career, and he will help the team gain more glory. But what about Paderborn? Just small-town football after all. There is no room for the Buddha like Su Feng. As he continues to grow, he will definitely join some of the richest clubs in Europe in the future to compete for a higher reputation. Paderborn can sign Su Feng for a while, but cannot sign Su Feng. Gerald can only accept this reality and wait for Su Feng to grow to the point where Paderborn players can no longer adapt to him, which is when he leaves. It may be half a season, or it may be a season. It all depends on how fast Su Feng grows. Under such circumstances, Gerald could only bring Su Feng to Paderborn first, and strive to lead the team to win the Bundesliga championship during his time with the team, which would be a good thing for everyone on the team. All add an honor. Okay, Feng, I can understand your ambition. After thinking about these truths, Gerald nodded. There was no disappointment in his eyes, but more appreciation, appreciating that he had led a genius with lofty ambitions. Players, I will bring you from Freiburg to Paderborn in the next winter window. At the same time, I will also advise the club's top management not to give you an excessively high liquidated damages and not to prevent you from going to a higher level. Stage. Su Feng didn't like people who beat around the bush, so after opening the skylight and speaking frankly, it made him even happier. Thank you, Mr. Gerald. Paderborn is the first team I officially played for in my career, and I have a very strong feeling for it. Even if I leave Paderborn in the future, I think I will also earn you a generous transfer fee. Gerald nodded, his eyes not daring to face Su Feng directly. To be honest, he feels like he can only meet this kind of player in his life. However, he has no regrets and only hopes that he can lead Paderborn to a firm foothold in the Bundesliga in the future. If he meets a talented player next time, he will not miss it again. After a while, Gerald seemed to come back to his senses from the assumption that Su Feng would leave in the future. He looked at Su Feng and suggested meaningfully, Feng, you are becoming more and more famous now. I heard that many European giants have offered you an olive branch. I hope you can find a good agent in the near future, which will be more conducive to your future development. Okay, thank you Mr. Gerald for the reminder. I will consider this matter recently, Su Feng said in a respectful tone. He was really grateful to Gerald for his treatment of him in recent months. Cultivation. No matter what the future holds, Gerald will always be his respected coach and his old friend. Yes, Gerald responded, stood up, moved to Su Feng's side, and patted his shoulder heavily. Read more novels by visiting our website Night Novels. It won't be long before the second round of the Deutsche Cup begins. We will meet the German giants Dortmund. I'm afraid there will be many scouts paying attention to that game. You should prepare well and strive to be in that game. Achieve excellent performance, okay? If there's nothing else, I will go back to training first. Then, after receiving Gerald's signal, Su Feng got up and left the office. After leaving Gerald's office, Su Feng returned to the team and followed the team members for afternoon training. However, what Gerald said just now made him slightly distracted. Although he has some experience in his previous life, he can avoid some contract traps to the greatest extent, but business negotiation is not what he is good at after all. He is not a professional and cannot check every clause in the contract clearly. In the future, once a contract dispute arises, it will cause a lot of unnecessary trouble in his daily training. So now Su Feng knows that he needs a professional agent. The importance of professional agents to football players is self-evident. For example, in history, stars such as Ronaldo and Ibrahimovic were all operated by professional agents and brought them to European giants. Among them, they can use the resources they have to bring players to better teams, and help players get a better contract and win more bonuses. However, such a powerful agent cannot be found casually. It takes more opportunities to let a powerful agent take a fancy to you and then sign a contract. From the current point of view, Su Feng is already quite famous in Germany. After all, the 17-year-old German second division top scorer is still very rare. If no agent comes to Su Feng in the future, he has already begun to think about finding a more reliable agent to join him. As for those big agents who are famous in the football world, after they become completely famous, they will almost be qualified to choose them. Time passed quickly, and the week flew by. The 11th round of the Bundesliga 2 is about to begin this week. Su Feng also had 3 points in one line: apartment, training base, and nightclub. His life was also very simple, and his strength was steadily improving. Currently, after the 10th round of the Bundesliga 2, Paderborn has 4 wins, 4 draws and 2 losses, with a total of 16 points, ranking 6th in the Bundesliga 2. The top 6 in the Bundesliga are not far behind in points. As long as Paderborn maintains its form, it is not hopeless to win the Bundesliga championship at the very least. It is relatively easy to get the third-place promotion playoff spot. October 17th is the match day of the Bundesliga 2. Some teams will start the 11th round today. Paderborn is naturally among them, and their opponent is a very strong team, Union Berlin. The Union of Berlin has a long history and has a special status in German history. In recent years, the team has begun to reorganize and has achieved good results. After 10 league rounds, it currently ranks 8th in the league, only 4 points behind Paderborn, and in the third round, they defeated Freiburg, the favorite team to win. It can be said that the physical strength is comparable to Freiburg. However, due to financial constraints, Union Berlin cannot introduce better players in some positions. Otherwise they are also capable of competing for championships. In fact, many years later, Union Berlin did successfully advance to the Bundesliga and achieved good results in the Bundesliga. They even reached the top and stayed at the top of the standings for a period of time. There is no doubt that this game is a big test for Paderborn. However, Paderborn, with its strong team cohesion now, will not be afraid of any team. Chapter 098. The Evergreen team watches the game, live broadcast on kyoku.com, local time, 2 p.m. Berlin, the capital of Germany, near the Old Forest Service Stadium. Fans one after another have started from the city, passed through a forest area, and arrived at the Old Forest Management Stadium in the suburbs. This stadium can only be described as shabby. It can only accommodate 20,000 fans, and its appearance is not a 360-degree stadium. It is incomparable with the Olympic Stadium in Berlin, home to Hertha in the same city and which has hosted the Olympic Games and World Cup. However, it is worth mentioning that this stadium was built and renovated by more than 2,000 fans who volunteered to help the team after Union Berlin successfully promoted to the second division in 2008. This stadium, which seems to have countless flaws, is like a child raised by Union Berlin fans. Regardless of whether it is ugly or handsome, it looks good no matter how you look at it. We are Berlin United, together we stand, we'll fight until the end, together we transcend. In the stadium, 10,000 more than 5,000 Union Berlin fans, wearing red jerseys with a unique white mandarin collar with snap buttons, stood together on the left and right, regardless of gender, young or old, and sang the team's anthem together on the sidelines of the spectator seats. A group of yellow people with East Asian faces stood out against a crowd of white people. They are the Evergreen Club, led by Wu Kangen, who came to sign Su Feng. Berlin is the capital of Germany, so the Evergreen team was naturally the first to come here to experience the local customs. Moreover, Paderborn will also visit Berlin in the next round of the league, so the Evergreen team simply waited in Berlin. I have to say that although this stadium is small, the viewing experience and atmosphere are much better than those in our country. Wu Kangen led the way from the passage in the middle of the spectator seats towards the VIP luxury rooms above. After all, as a Chinese Super League club, if you don't sit in a luxurious private room, wouldn't it be too cheap? That's right, this is just an ordinary league game in the Bundesliga B. It's almost as good as the AFC Champions League hosted by Xi'an Stadium. Others lamented that it wasn't unreasonable. 2015 is a time when Chinese football is booming. Back then, the Evergreen football team was at its peak, and the atmosphere it created was China's best. But compared with the Old Forest Management Center golf course, I'm afraid it only outperforms in terms of the number of people. As for the home stadiums of other Chinese Super League teams, the atmosphere is much worse than that of Union Berlin. Arriving at the VIP luxury private room, everyone quickly sat down and prepared to watch the game. However, sitting on the uncomfortable sofa, they had to admit that Union Berlin still had some shortcomings in the hardware of the private rooms. At least the sofa was not very comfortable. In this game, that kid should start, right? We can't let us go in vain. Wu Kangen looked at the players warming up off the court and said curiously, "Director Wu." "No." The assistant just handed Wu Kangen a drink and explained at the same time, "Before coming here, I watched all the videos of Paderborn's games this season. It can be said that Paderborn's current results are entirely due to Su Feng. After he came on the scene, he scored almost all of Paderborn's goals. The goal led the team to 8 rounds without defeat. Such a player will definitely start, so powerful." Read more novels by visiting our website Night Novels. Wu Kangen couldn't help but show a touch of shock on his face. When he was in China, he only heard that Su Feng became the absolute main force of Paderborn, but he never expected that he was actually a scoring machine and could score all the goals for a team. then the Cannavaro guy will definitely be interested in him. When Wu Kangin mentioned Cannavaro, the assistant couldn't help but shook his head, frowned and continued, "That's not necessarily the case. How should I put it? Su Feng seems to be different from other forwards." Wu Kangin showed a hint of doubt on his face and turned his head to look over. "Why is it different? Isn't it just that he is more talented than other forwards?" "No, it's just that he seems a little lazy. He didn't like running much during the whole game." Worried that Wu Kangin wouldn't understand what he meant, he added, "Judging from the appearance of Su Feng in the game video, he almost only runs when and after catching the ball, and most of the other time he stands with the opponent's defender, slowly maintaining the formation. Can you play football like this?" Wu Kangin frowned. He couldn't help but imagine that this kind of playing style can win the top scorer in the Bundesliga too. "This is unscientific." The assistant froze on the spot, seeming to be thinking about how to organize the words. "This style of playing is indeed inconsistent with the concept of modern football, but judging from the reality, Su Feng does play well. He is a very agile player and can score some goals that shock the audience." Wu Kangin put his doubts aside for the time being and prepared to watch Su Feng's game live. After all, the purpose of their trip was to buy Su Feng back to Evergrande Club. Then he used his experience of studying abroad at the age of 17 and becoming the top scorer in the Bundesliga 2 to create a wave of traffic in the domestic circle. As for whether he can be a starter, that's not something he considers. Even if head coach Cannavaro doesn't like him, he just needs to be given reasonable substitute time and a chance to play, and he believes that no young player can resist the temptation of money. What is playing football for? Isn't it just to gain fame and gain money? China has a population of nearly 1.3 billion. The traffic and reputation back home will definitely be no less than in the Bundesliga too. At the same time, Evergrande can also give Su Feng an annual salary that is 10 times higher than that in the Bundesliga too. Why should he refuse? You know, in the genuine era of Chinese football, the wages paid to players were very terrible. For example, the annual salary of Conca, the king of the celestial bodies, who was playing at the time, was much higher than that of other teammates of the Brazilian national team playing in Europe. This is the charm of Chinese football for players. It allows players to come back from the 5 major leagues, enjoy a leisurely life, and earn more money than they can spend in a lifetime. On the court at the moment, fans from both sides were shouting heartily, as if they wanted to decide a winner before the game started. The smaller Paderborn fans were not to be outdone, and every fan tried their best to aid in such an atmosphere. The players from both sides soon ended their warm-up training and returned to the locker room, ready to start the next game. As far away as China, the live broadcast room of 11.com CN was already overcrowded for the 11th round of the Bundesliga 2, Union Berlin's home game against Paderborn. This game, under the watchful eyes of millions of fans in China, is about to begin. Chapter 099. Zanjun and He Wei sit down. The much-anticipated competition. Good evening to viewers who understand the game. Welcome to watch the 11th round of the German Football League 2, Paderborn's away game against Union Berlin. In the live broadcast room of the game, wearing is Zanjun and He Wei, whose jerseys are printed with a net logo, have already taken their seats in the commentary booth. Feeling more excited than ever before, after many years, the two of them finally got together in the live broadcast room to explain China's own players. It can be said that they are back in their youth. However, this time the Chinese player is no longer an old player familiar to the fans, but a 17-year-old Su Feng who is just starting out. But this happens to be the case. Su Feng, a player, has already stood at the pinnacle of his predecessors since his debut. There are only a handful of players who can compare with him. This made Chinese fans, including the commentator of this game, full of expectations for him. It's good news today. The weather conditions at the competition venue are very ideal. Zanjun spoke in his iconic hoarse voice, with excitement in his words. I am football commentator Zanjun. Today I will be with teacher He Wei commenting on this game. The next one will be a matchup in the Bundesliga 2. This game will definitely be very interesting to watch. Although football commentators often have 2 guests, they cannot say that the 2 commentators invited by KingQ.com today, they are all very capable and they are all the main guests. There must be a distinction between priorities, and when the net invited the 2 of them, it had already been decided that Zanjun would be the main guest in this game, giving a basic narration of the game, while He Wei contributed some good words on the side, filling in the gaps. This game is undoubtedly the focus of all Chinese fans. He Wei took over the words just right and directed the topic in the live broadcast room to Su Feng. Both sides of the game are about to enter the stadium, and everyone is most concerned about it. Of course, The focus of attention is on the Chinese young player Su Feng. The focus of the camera is of course the top scorer of the German second division. I don't know if he scored a goal today. At this moment, the scene was broadcast in the live broadcast room. Couldn't help but give Su Feng, who followed Paderborn into the venue. Countless fans who had just signed up for the QQ.com membership showed up, and the popularity skyrocketed, quickly breaking the online record of the platform. Seeing this data, Zhanjun and Hiwei couldn't help but look at each other. The popularity is really high. It seems that Chinese fans have unconsciously regarded Su Feng as the future of the Chinese team. It's finally started. Did Su Feng start? What day is it? I'm so excited. It's been a long time since I saw a Chinese player start in a mainstream European league. At the age of 17, he has achieved this result. It's really terrifying. Su Feng. Su Feng. I carry the banner for Su Feng in the live broadcast room as the players appeared on the stage. Countless enthusiastic fans cheered. The screen has refreshed. It can be said that most of these fans have expressed their admiration for Su Feng and hope that he can achieve better results in the Bundesliga too. The fans patiently watched the pre-match ceremony of the players on the field with excitement, and such an exciting competition officially kicked off as time passed by. Beep. Following the referee's whistle, Su Feng, wearing Paderborn's number 23 jersey, fired the ball from the center circle for the team. You can hear that the cheers of the fans at the scene have just started. The atmosphere is really great. Read more novels by visiting our website Night Novels. Zhanjun looked at the scene and couldn't help but curled his lips and sighed. European Football League atmosphere. There is no way. European football culture is highly developed, and the atmosphere alone is already far ahead of China. After the game started, Su Feng didn't know that his game had been watched by millions of fans and friends in distant China. He focuses on the game, eager to lead Paderborn to defeat the hard nut of Union Berlin and launch an impact towards a higher ranking in the Bundesliga too. After the football was sent, Paderborn was very motivated and frequently organized attacks in the midfield, trying to use a dangerous ball to connect with Su Feng and penetrate Union Berlin's defense. However, Union Berlin is also a very cohesive team, and they have also made some changes defensively. Although he has never played against Paderborn, their head coach Gustav also knows about Su Feng. He didn't believe in evil, and he didn't believe that Su Feng, a big guy, couldn't be guarded. He strictly asked the defensive players to keep an eye on Su Feng, and tried his best to block the connection between other Paderborn players and Su Feng. As long as you can't get the ball, no matter how strong your breakthrough ability is, what's the use? In this case, Union Berlin showed extremely high tactical literacy from the beginning, with 3 lines of defense neatly arranged and pressing in an orderly manner. Many of Paderborn's passes were intercepted by Union Berlin's defensive players. The ball rights changed frequently, and for a while, Su Feng in the front court seemed to become invisible game viewing seats. In VIP luxury boxes, Wu Kangen, the leader of the Evergreen team, couldn't help showing a hint of doubt when he saw this situation. Maybe Su Feng is not as strong as he thought. Was he able to score so many goals because he faced a weak defensive team? After facing a strong team like Union Berlin, there is no way to stand out. Is there anyone who plays football like this? Wu Kangen complained fiercely to Su Feng. When the midfielder can't control the ball, doesn't he know how to drop back to respond? Is this his attitude in the game? Like this, if things continue like this, even if we return to the Evergreen team, we will only be forced to death on the bench by that old guy Cannavaro, right? The assistant who had carefully watched the video of Su Feng's game had some embarrassment on his face and couldn't help but say. He stood up and said a few good words for Su Feng. Director, the game has just begun. Don't be anxious. There are still opportunities for Su Feng to perform later. Wu Kangen snorted, lit a cigarette for himself, and continued to watch the game patiently. Paderborn failed to connect Su Feng together, and did not get any better opportunities on the wing. Naturally, they fell into disadvantage in the first half of the game. However, most of the live broadcasts in the live broadcast room of QQ.com are live broadcasts. Like Wu Kangen, he can't see Su Feng's performance on the court all the time. Therefore, they didn't know that Su Feng was staying in the front court like an invisible man. Otherwise, they would have been too angry and would have started typing their keyboards in the live broadcast room. Time passed by minute. 27th minute of the first half, Union Berlin seized an opportunity. After the forward cut inside the penalty area, he attempted a long shot favored by the goddess of luck. He successfully blasted the football into Paderborn's goal. 1-0. Union Berlin took the lead in scoring a goal at their home stadium. The Old Forest Management Stadium was suddenly filled with the celebrations of Union Berlin fans. The Paderborn fans were completely silent. with some unconcealable disappointment in their eyes. Chapter 100. Goal. Fan stares wonderful long shot. Zanjun explained this game, naturally on Paderborn's side, so he just mentioned Berlin Union's goal symbolically, and then focused on the following of Paderborn. Paderborn's center-back Hornl made an obvious mistake in the backcourt. He did not step forward to put pressure on the Union Berlin forward, which resulted in the opponent easily completing a long shot from the top of the penalty area. Hiwei also nodded beside him, agreeing with Zanjun's analysis. Yes, it can be clearly seen that Paderborn is not as good as Union Berlin in terms of defense. I hope that in future games, head coach Gerald can learn from the experience of conceding goals in this game. Improve the team's defense. In the live broadcast room, Chinese fans also began to sigh. Paderborn's defense is really cool. I can play even if I play. I don't know how Su Feng can win the top scorer title with such a teammate. Don't ignore Paderborn like this. Among the other players in the team, Su Feng is a hole with them. Su Feng, hurry up and score a goal. Come on Su Feng. Come on Paderborn. On the court after waiting for Union Berlin to finish celebrating, Paderborn soon sent the ball from the center circle again. After all, they didn't want to go into the halftime break with pressure, so after kickoff, the pace obviously accelerated a lot. Faced with Union Berlin's attack on Su Feng, Purlikovic moved his position back in time to help the midfielder organize the attack. Under such changes, Paderborn's ball pressure has also been reduced a lot. The offensive organization gradually started from the side, and then brought the ball near the penalty area, and then passed the ball to find the forward Su Feng. Sometimes, when there is really no way to pass the ball, Vidra and Prejudice will also try a few long shots. Although none of them scored, they could also bring many shooting opportunities to Paderborn and add a lot of enjoyment to the game. Here, 38th minute of the game, Pulikovic sees the gap between the Union Berlin fullbacks before they could return to defense, sprinted forward, and at the same time raised his hand to ask for the ball from his teammates behind him. After receiving the pass, he made several stops and quickly pushed the ball into the heart of Union Berlin. In this position, Pulikovic was once again double-teamed by two Union Berlin defenders, and for a while there was no good space to cut inside, but he knows that if he can get the ball here, he's pretty much done. Next, all you need to do is pass the ball to Su Feng. Bang! Without hesitation, after stopping the ball, Pulikovic feinted past a defensive player in front of him and passed the ball towards Su Feng's path. Pulikovic made a pass from the middle. Su Feng has a chance. Live broadcast room of kittyyankee.com. After Zanjun saw the live broadcast from the front line, he couldn't help but speak quickly, hoping that Su Feng would score a goal next to him. Hiwei clenched his right hand into a fist and raised it high, waiting for Su Feng to seize the opportunity. And shit, it's been too long since I've seen my own players score in European competitions. Both Zanjun and Hiwei hope that the goal can be scored, which will arouse the passion of the fans in the live broadcast room. Union Berlin backcourt, the central defender who was guarding Su Feng shouted loudly and rushed towards Su Feng where the ball landed. In order to prevent Su Feng from grabbing the goal first, he even made small movements with his hands. However, Su Feng's judgment of where the football will land is much better than this defensive player. While he was still looking up at the football and judging the landing point, Su Feng was almost at the landing point. The defensive players who rushed up later, and the small movements of their hands did not affect Su Feng's performance. Read more novels by visiting our website Night Novels. Bang! Taking advantage of his height and control of the landing point, Su Feng took off at the right time, leaped high into the air, and hit his head hard on the football. The violent impact changed the position where the football fell. The football flew into the air again and fell towards the front left side of Su Feng, and all of this was within Su Feng's expectations. After hitting the football, Su Feng immediately turned around and rushed to the right, daring to fly the football forward again before it was about to hit the ground. The Union Berlin player who failed to win the ball was hit by Su Feng. After landing, he was in a daze. After he reacted, he rushed towards Su Feng again, but by this time, it was already too late. Bang! Su Feng stretched out his body, and when the football landed on his calf, he violently hit the football with his right foot. The football was hit by the impact and changed its flight trajectory again, flying towards the far corner of the Union Berlin goal. This volley was of high quality, and Su Feng kept the height of the football steady. The rapid rate of shooting caused the ball to hit the net just as the Union Berlin goalkeeper made a save. Hey, the ball went in. Paderborn equalizes the score. Galoo! The Paderborn fans stood up from their seats excitedly and waved their arms vigorously. Su Feng, another volley from Su Feng, helped Paderborn tie the score. The live broadcast room of kinkyu.com. Su Feng hit the goal. Beautiful. 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 The ball went in. Wei finally waved his already raised arms and praised Su Feng's volley several times excitedly. In the 39th minute of the first half, Su Feng made an imaginative volley from the penalty area, which blasted away the goal guarded by the Union Berlin goalkeeper and helped Paderborn equalize the score. 14 goals in 9 rounds. He has set a new goal record since his debut this season. After Wei finished speaking, Zhang Jun vented his excitement after many years. Su Feng once again commented on his own players' games in the European arena, and in the first broadcast of the game, Su Feng scored a goal. It can be said that this is so exciting for the Chinese fans. It seems that China finally has a scoring champion in the European arena. 666. Awesome. Beautiful. Wonderful goal. It had to be Su Feng. Did he score in the first broadcast game? This kid's strength is so shocking. I don't allow anyone to not know about Su Feng. As Su Feng scored this goal, the live broadcast room of KaiokiU.com was once again shocked by his goal barrage. Scream. It had been a long time since they had seen their overseas players score goals in mainstream European competitions, and the pent-up emotions in their hearts were finally released at this moment. Only they themselves can understand the excitement in their hearts. It seems that tonight is destined to make many Chinese fans shed tears, even burst into tears. End of this chapter. Thank you so much for reading until the end. Don't forget to give it a like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription or donation encourages us to continue. Thank you all. See you in the next video.